And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Jones versus Stegall. Step forward, please.
18-year-old waitress Bonnie Jones is suing her ex-boyfriend, 20-year-old tile installer Thomas Stegall, for writing checks from a shared account after they broke up.
Miss Jones, Mr. Stegall was your boyfriend.
Yes.
While you were together, you made the monumental mistake of having a joint bank account with him.
Yes.
It was probably a mistake for both of you, but certainly since you're on that side of the table, it was a bigger mistake for you. According to your complaint, at the time you broke up, you left some of the checks in the apartment or in the house where you were living.
Yes.
Mr. Stegall found those checks because he had not been writing checks on the account you had. And over the next month, he wrote a series of checks. The bounced fees, et cetera, came to about $600. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And there's no question, these were all his checks, his withdrawals, after you broke up. Is that right?
Yep.
Now, I think, Mr. Stegall, you acknowledge that all of these checks were written after you broke up. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
So now, I would like you to tell me, and at the same time you're going to tell Bird, your defense.
Well, at the time we broke up, she was controlling the checking account. I gave all my money, my paychecks to her, and she deposited it. When we split up, I hadn't been using the checkbook. I wasn't allowed to. So when she left, I figured there was still money in there for me to use. I didn't know.
Do you know how to use a telephone?
I didn't know where she was.
But you know where your bank was.
Yes, ma'am.
Would it ever dawn on you to go into the bank and find out if there was any money left in that account?
It didn't occur to me, no, ma'am.
Okay. So continue. Bird's still listening.
Well, basically, I found the checkbook, and I decided that, well, I really wasn't thinking straight at the time, I guess you could say. I needed a few things, or wanted a few things, and I ended up writing a few checks that turned out to bounce. And she's called me quite a few times since then to let me know, and I told her I'd do the best I can to work on it, but I just got employed again, just getting stuff straightened out.
Would you tell me what your defense is?
I had no idea there wasn't any money in the account. I thought that my money was still in there.
So if you knew that there was no money in the account, you wouldn't have written these checks. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, ma'am.
So then you owe her the money, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Isn't this easy? Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $606. That's it.
Thank you.
Excuse me. Yeah, this is case number 128 on the calendar, the matter of Cassidy versus Graves. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats. You're welcome.
Bird, this is another one of those cases of Dumb and Dumber, and Mama gets to pay the bill.
Ooh.
Which one is your daughter?
Erin.
That's dumb. Dumber. Miss Cassidy made the mistake of letting her daughter borrow her car. Her daughter went to a party and got blotto drunk. So far correct, Miss Cassidy?
Pretty accurate.
Somehow or another, Mr. Graves over here, dumber, got the car and wrecked it. Mr. Graves' defense, while he acknowledges that he went over a curb or a building, is that right, sir? You're not exactly sure.
Technically.
Thereby damaging the car, has a novel defense. So we have agreed on a certain state of facts. Miss Cassidy, the mother, owner of the car, daughter whose name is?
Erin Cassidy.
Drunk, blotto, laid out. He takes the car. Now we're going to hear his defense. We can't wait.
All right, well, we're at a party at my friend's house, and Erin asked me to go pick up an errand for her.
Pick up what?
Pick up an errand.
Pick up an errand?
Yeah.
Is that heavy?
No. No, it's not.
Erin asked you to what?
To drive her car to go pick up an errand for her.
To go pick up an errand. Could you
Yes.
describe what an errand is, sir? Because Bird and I don't understand what an errand is. Is that bigger than a bread box, smaller than a bread box? What does it do? What does an errand do?
It's an illegal substance.
An errand is called an illegal substance.
No,
Bird,
that's what I went to
have
go
you ever heard an illegal substance called an errand?
Not in this lifetime.
Not in this lifetime. And having been around family courts and the court system for a long time, we would have heard, I mean, we've heard of a lot of things, but we've never heard of an illegal substance called an errand. We're going to start again, Mr. Graves.
Okay.
You were at a party, and Erin asked you to what?
to go pick up some cocaine for her.
Okay. Did she give you any money? I would like you to look in my eyes when you speak to me.
All right. She tried to give me some money, but she couldn't find her wallet because she was too drunk. And so we went looking for her wallet, and I found it outside in the front, or next to the front door. So.
Look at my eyes.
Sorry.
So you took money out of her wallet, or you brought the wallet back to her?
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh, what? Uh-huh is not an answer.
Yes.
You see what I mean, Dumb and Dumber?
Dumb and Dumberer.
Dumb and Dumberer. Uh-huh is not an answer. Either you took the money out of her wallet, or you brought the wallet back to her for her to take the money out of it, and uh-huh is not an answer. Column A or column B? Which one was it?
Took the wallet to her.
And she took the money out?
No, she said to look in it and take the money.
And how much money did you take out?
Just 20 bucks.
20 bucks. And where did you go to purchase this cocaine for Aaron with the 20 bucks?
From a friend of mine.
Friend of yours?
Yeah, well, a friend of ours.
A mutual friend? The person's name?
I can't give that.
Oh, yes, you can.
All right.
You're here in court. I'm asking you a question. I have to decide whether or not you're telling me the truth. The person's name?
Justin?
Justin what?
I don't know. I don't want to give it to you. Sorry.
Now, you're in the car on your way with the 20 bucks to buy cocaine for Erin, who was drunk. So drunk she couldn't even find her own wallet. And what happened with the car, Mr. Graves?
Well, I was turning to a left-hand turn lane, and I got a glare in my eye.
What time was it?
I think 11 or so.
At
11,
night?
Yes.
Was it a sun glare?
No, it was from a light, because I wear contacts.
It was from what light? Because you wear...
The street light. Like, you know, the light that's red, green, signal light. And
So because you wear contact lenses, it affects your light in a way different from the way it affects normal people?
No, not necessarily. I don't know how normal people see because I'm not a normal seer.
You're not normal, is what you're saying. Is that what you're trying to tell me?
No, I'm not trying to say that.
You were blinded by the light. And what happened?
Well, I drive a truck, so I'm not used to her quick handling, and sorry.
You got blinded by the light. And what happened?
And I was turning to the left-hand turn lane, and there's an island there. And I went up the curb onto the island.
Thereby damaging the
rims.
Then you went and bought the cocaine.
Yes.
And you brought it back to the house.
Yes.
And what did you do with it?
Well, I went to go find Erin, but she was passed out on my friend's bed.
And?
And so then I just gave it to someone else.
You gave Erin's cocaine to somebody else?
Well, someone else was purchasing some too at the same time.
You mean you drove somebody else also to your friend Justin's house to buy the cocaine?
Yes.
Is that what you're telling me?
Yes.
Well, how many purchasers... Bird. This is very serious business. This is the future of our country here that's standing here.
Merely cleaning my
This is the
glasses.
future of America. How many purchasers were in the car altogether, Mr. Graves?
None of them were purchasers.
Well,
But
there
they were
was
just-
you.
I wasn't purchasing.
Sure, you were purchasing.
Oh, I was purchasing it for other people.
You were
I
an
guess.
errand.
Yes.
Sorry, he was an errand. And then there was at least one other person who you also said was in the car also purchasing, right?
No. No other person in the car was purchasing besides me.
I thought you said somebody else in the house. You gave
Well,
it to...
I brought 2 people with me, but they weren't purchasing any. They were just going along for the ride.
So you gave it to...
The person that was back at the house.
Just because they were... Was it their birthday or anything?
Not that I know of.
Was it a bar mitzvah present? No. Just because you were a nice guy. Because you don't do any cocaine.
No, not anymore. Not anymore.
I don't mean now, I mean then.
Yeah, I did.
It's party time. So you just gave away the cocaine. Didn't want to use any of it yourself that night. Didn't want to save any for later.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You know what makes me doubt what he said? The fact that when he came back, and because she was sleeping, he gave the cocaine away.
Yeah.
And later today,
I'm not happy. You're not happy. Let's call this quits. And he then crossed the double yellow line in my car and started driving towards oncoming traffic full force.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Kathy Cassidy says her daughter's former friend, Colin Graves, damaged her BMW when he drove it over a curb. Colin says Kathy's daughter asked him to go buy cocaine.
How much did it cost you to fix this car, Miss Cassidy?
$25, $34, $95 or something.
Do you have any proof of that?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see it, please. Where's the car now, Miss Cassidy?
It's in my possession.
Did you give her the car back?
Well, she still uses it on occasion, but the story of what happened isn't exactly as...
I don't necessarily buy everything that he says. Right. You know what makes me doubt what he said? The fact that when he came back, and because she was sleeping, he gave the cocaine away.
Yeah.
I tried to wake her up.
That's not what I'm talking about. That he gave it away because he didn't want to use it himself, you know, even though then he was using cocaine occasionally, he didn't want to use it, so he just gave it to a friend.
Right. It's very kind.
Do you understand? Yeah. Not kind?
Yeah.
Kind. So I'm sure somewhere in the middle of what your daughter told you and what Mr. Future of America told me lies the truth.
Yes.
It really is irrelevant. Yes. She was irresponsible.
Yes, she was.
She drove a car and she got drunk. He acknowledges that she was drunk, so that he should not have taken her car, because if she was drunk, she was in no position to give advised consent to him taking the car.
That's right.
And therefore, he should not have taken it. Whether he was doing errand for her or not, or doing errand for somebody else, or just being a jerk, he should not have taken the car because she was drunk. And I don't think you have to suffer for that. I just wanted to make sure that you knew that your daughter did the wrong thing by taking your car and putting herself in a position where she wasn't totally together.
And she agrees. She
Good.
understands.
Absolutely fine. In any event, Mr. Graves was driving the car. Unfortunately for him, he was blinded by whatever light it was. Maybe it was a shooting star. He owes you $25.34. That's $2,534. Judgment for the plaintiff. Thank you very much. Goodbye, and I wish us all luck.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I did not ask for drugs that night, and I did not tell him to go take my car to do drugs. In fact, he was the one that did the drugs, so.
She was coherent at the time when I asked her for her keys.
I was never asked. That's not the truth.
And Alicia was inside the room with me when I got the keys from her.
So that was the first lie.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Pike versus Pedersen, step forward, please.
Landscaper Richard Pike is suing ex-girlfriend, loan consultant Tanya Pedersen, for breaking a lease when he suddenly moved out. Tanya says Richard told her he wanted to be single again.
Mr. Pike, the defendant was your girlfriend. According to your complaint, you lived together someplace else, and you've been together for a while, and you came down to
San Diego,
and took an apartment together, along with a third roommate. Is this the third roommate?
Yes, Your Honor, it is.
Good. You signed a lease, all three of you, and you moved in February of this year. And according to you, a month later, the defendant moved out.
Yes.
And you want her to be responsible for her third share of the remainder of the lease, right?
That's correct.
Plus, you want her to pay for half the amount that you believe she owes on a credit card that's in your name because you used it to pay joint bills.
Correct, Your Honor.
Ms. Peterson says that you made it unsafe for her to live there and that she doesn't owe you anything on the credit card. She paid as she went. And she says, how dare you sue her for any money when you used her car and her gas and her insurance on the car for almost a year without giving her any money.
That's correct.
The lease was signed January 1st or starting February 1st?
February 5th, I believe it was.
How many bedrooms are in the apartment?
2 bedrooms.
You were sharing one with Miss Peterson.
Correct.
And
Joseph
had his own bedroom. So how much rent was Joseph paying?
$650 a month, I believe it was, and we were paying $670.
Are you all still living there, is that right?
Joseph and I are, yes.
You going to continue to stay there?
Yes, Your Honor.
You don't want anybody else sharing your room with you, do you?
Not at this particular moment, no.
Then why are you bothering her about the rent?
Because we moved in with an agreement that we had planned all this, and if she had, not wanted to live there, then she shouldn't have moved in the first place. And
well, let's go back a second. She moved out on what date?
Approximately March 8th.
March 5th, Your Honor.
And did you pay March's rent?
Yes, I did.
What about April? Did you give money in April?
No, I did not.
That's incorrect, Your Honor. She paid me for April rent.
Okay.
You paid for April rent. See that? How did she give you April's rent?
Reluctantly.
Oh, how did she give it to you?
In a check, form of a cashier's check made out to the landlord.
Now, Ms. Peterson, you want to tell me why you moved out?
Yes, on the morning of March 5th, on the way to work, we had been sharing my car, and he was driving me to work. He was venting to me about wanting to be single, about feeling like a...
No, I want you to tell me what he said.
Okay, he basically said he wanted to be single. And
you said why?
He said that I was inadequate, pretty much.
And Mr. Pike, you remember that conversation?
But I didn't tell her she was inadequate.
What did you tell her?
I told her that, you know, I was frustrated with the way things were going as far as, like, you know, me doing all the cleaning and upkeep on all the things and the bills and worrying about the bills. And wasn't being, I was just being figurative when I said that. I wasn't being literal. Just something I said off the top of my head.
That'll teach you. So you told...
So on the way, he dropped me off. I let it go. He picked me up from work, and I said, well, I want to finish this conversation. I agree with you. I'm not happy. You're not happy. Let's call this quits. And he said, well, why aren't you happy? I said, there's lots of reasons. And he then crossed the double yellow line in my car and started driving towards oncoming traffic full force.
That's incorrect, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
We're coming towards oncoming traffic, and he peels into a parking lot, slams on the brakes, yelling profanities at me, jumps out of the car, slams the door, walks away. I was standing there shaking, about 5 minutes.
So you had a big fight?
Yes, and I left, drove away, got my stuff, and
left?
And left.
Okay. Does the fight sound familiar to you? That
Half of it does. I was stranded out where I was left, and then my roommate came to pick me up.
So you remember having this big fight?
Right.
Mr. Pike, if I find that it's not a good idea for the two of you to live together, which I do, you're not happy with her, she's not happy with you, you're certainly not going to share a room together for the next 10 months. You have to do, or she has to do, what we call mitigating the damages, which means reducing any damages that there might be. So you can do either one of 3 things, Mr. Pike. You can either pay it yourself with Joseph, and the two of you live there together. That's one choice. You can, at this date, find a new roommate to share your room with you, your bigger room. That's your second choice. The third choice is to have Miss Peterson find you a roommate. She might be able to do that. You might not like it. But that would also mitigate your damages. So you want to tell me what's your pleasure?
According to the choices, let's see.
One from column A, one from B, or is it door C?
But there's no room for someone to move in there. When am I have another guy move in there like we're in college, you know? I mean, I'm 30 years old. And she signed a lease. Why did she sign a lease if she didn't want to live there?
Because, Mr. Pike, when she signed the lease, it was anticipated by both of you that you would be able to share a room together and live as a couple.
We did for a year and a half before that in Seattle.
Pay careful attention to me, sir. That didn't work out. And based upon what I heard, it didn't work out by mutual agreement. You weren't happy, and you let her know that. She wasn't happy. Then there was a flare-up, and I find that it is not in the best interest of the community for the two of you to be forced to live together. Therefore, in contract law, you have to do what's necessary to mitigate your damages. She's not moving in with Joseph because he's your friend. You want to stay there with him alone, pay your rent. You want her to find you a roommate? I'll order that she put ads in the newspaper, select somebody. You never can tell. You may get a roommate that looks like her. Go ahead.
I'll take choice A on that one.
That you and Joseph will stay together. I sort of thought that you would. Now, you want to go into this credit card with me, sir?
She couldn't get a credit card because of her current credit status, so I filed for a credit card, got one, and we used it just for groceries, living expenses. It was always agreed upon. You know, she'd always promised to pay half of it.
Now I'll hear your end of it.
Yes. The whole time that we were together, I used my debit card for food purchases, gas purchases, car purchases, insurance. He was using my car for a year. The total amount of expenses that were incurred for both of us over the last 12 months is over $10,000.
Show me.
Then, Your Honor, that's incorrect because I sold my truck August of 2002 for us to have money to move down here. And so I only used her car in Seattle for like 2 months.
I'm looking at her debits. I want to see her debits since while you were living together.
And you can note on your... Oh.
Shh. And I want to see the final bill as of March 5th. Well, it seems she had a bank balance and she had money that she was taking out pretty regularly. Larger
I used
item.
my debit card as well as the credit card, too. I mean, I had a debit card as well.
Show me.
I didn't bring my all and brought the credit card statements with me.
Well, did you work?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did she work?
Yes. When we moved down here, neither one of us were working, and we were using the credit card to live on.
That's inaccurate.
Well, she's got some items here where she went grocery shopping and used her debit card, sir. If she went shopping for food and she spent $42 for food, and then you went the next time and used your credit card, do you expect any judge to sit there and figure out the difference and who owes who what? That's what happens when you live together. We do not have a court system in place for people who almost have a commitment to each other. It just doesn't work that way, Mr. Pike. Get over it. Hope you and Joseph are very happy together. Take your bills and pay them. Goodbye.
8-year-old administrative assistant Janine Barnard is suing her twin sister, administrative assistant Jennifer Barnard, for unpaid loans, forgery, and for an outstanding cell phone bill.
All rise. Now, this is case number 180 on the calendar in the matter of Barnard versus Barnard. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat, please.
Twin sisters that don't get along. That's what we have here. Have you always not gotten along?
No.
When did you stop getting along?
Well, when she got back from Puerto Rico.
Listen, I don't know when that was.
2 months ago.
So prior to 2 months ago, you got along just fine.
Yes, Your Honor.
Is that right?
Yes.
How old are you?
I'm 30.
So for 30 years, you got along.
No. No, we didn't get along. We fought before because this has happened in the past before.
What's
no,
your first name?
Jennifer.
Jennifer. Which one of you came out of the womb first?
Me. She did.
And your name?
Janine.
Janine. So Janine is your older sister.
Yes.
How many minutes?
By 12 minutes.
Have either of you ever been married?
No.
What do you do for a living?
I'm an administrative assistant.
And you?
Administrative assistant.
Do you work at the same place?
No.
And you don't live together?
No. No, we do
This
not.
is your boyfriend?
Yes.
What does he do for a living?
He's a labor worker.
Do you have a boyfriend?
Yep.
What does he do?
He's not working right now. He's injured.
What's the nature of his injury?
He has a bad knee right now.
So you're supporting the household?
No, I live at home. She's lying. She's paying his rent. She lives.
That's her business. Who do you live with?
My parents.
And you don't?
No.
You live with a boyfriend?
Yes. I've lived on my own for 9 years.
Okay. So now we have a little bit of the background. We have twins, the older twin by 12 minutes?
Yes.
And your kid's sister?
That's correct.
According to your complaint, you loaned your kid's sister $300 because she was behind in rent.
I loaned her $180 for the rent itself.
And what was the other money for?
Money that I just lent to her for food, for sneakers, for clothing, because...
Was it all at one time that you lent her this money?
No, it was not at all at one time, no.
Over what period of time did you give her this $300?
I'd say probably it was a 4-month period.
Miss Barnard?
Yes.
Forget it. Did you give her one large lump sum of money?
I gave her $180 so she could move out of her apartment. No, I paid that, and the only person that helped me move was my brother, and it was on his credit card.
Just a second. She says she gave you $180. You saying that that's not true?
Yes, that's not true.
When did you move?
I moved in February.
Tell me about when your sister asked you for this loan.
Well, she was trying to move. She owed back rent, so I lent her the money so she could get the money. Then I rented a U-Haul on the 16th for her so she could move.
Just a second. Is this $180 that you gave her in cash, or is that including...
It was cash because I didn't know I would have to give a money order to my sister to have her pay me back.
Do you have any proof that on or around the 16th of February you took $180 out of a bank or out of a credit card or from an ATM?
Yes, yeah.
Let me see it.
I don't have my bank statement on me. I go to the ATM and withdraw money out. I don't have it on me right this second. But
the second is what counts.
I understand that.
All right. Now I want you to tell me about the other part of your lawsuit, which has to do with a cell phone or a phone bill that you say you had absolutely nothing to do with.
Yeah. Back in a few months ago, I went to try to purchase a cell phone, and they said that I owe them $319.27 from a prior. Yep, the phone company.
And did you say, I don't have this phone number?
Yeah, I didn't have any recollection of it at all. I told them it wasn't me, and I had to look into it and call the fraud department at the phone company to research it.
And what happened when you researched it? What did you
I researched it. I asked them for a copy of the agreement that was signed to get the phone, and I have it right here. This was in 1994, 10 years ago.
And I have no recollection of it. I didn't sign anything.
Recollection.
I didn't sign it, excuse me, recollection.
And it's clearly that the signature, the A's above, the A's on the printing above is different from the A in the signature print next to the signature. The A's are clearly different.
This is from 1994. This is actually 10 years ago. I'm not dealing with this.
Yeah, well, because I tried to get a cell phone, and they said that I have to owe the money. I actually got copies of the bills stating the forwarding address from the Quincy address to a Mattapan address, which is her boyfriend, Maurice Sherman Hines.
This is Maurice?
Yes, it is.
Maurice, stand up here a second. Your girlfriend's Jennifer, is that right?
Yes.
Did Jennifer ever get you a cell phone?
No.
Did Janine ever get you a cell phone?
Yes.
When did Janine get you a cell phone?
About 10 years ago.
She says that $319 is owed from an old phone. Clearly the phone that you say she got for you.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So you acknowledge that this phone was the phone that the plaintiff bought for you in 1994, and you owe on that phone $319.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So why don't you pay it?
Haven't had no money to pay it, and she just brought it up to me a couple of weeks ago.
What do you do for a living?
I work at Labor Ready.
Labor Ready?
Yes.
That means that you go...
And do hard work.
You live together?
No.
Do you have children?
Yes.
How many children do you have?
One.
With whom?
Jennifer.
You had to think about that? Is this Jennifer or another Jennifer?
This is Jennifer right here.
This Jennifer?
Yes.
How old is this child that you have with Jennifer?
9.
Oh. Costa Rica. Do you know that I've heard good things about Costa Rica? That they have a very large American population in Costa Rica. Let's go back for a second. You've been together 10 years. You have a 9-year-old child. Is there any reason why you're not married?
Never thought about it.
What?
Never thought about it.
Never thought about it. You have a mother and father,
Yes.
Jennifer?
Mm-hmm.
How long have they been married?
Still married.
Well, not still married. How long is the number?
God, like 50 years.
50 years?
Maybe 45 years.
So that you know about the concept of marriage.
Yes. And I don't want to get married right now. Why? I just don't want to.
Really? Mm-hmm. That might
That's
be
a big commitment. I'm not...
No, well, certainly.
I mean...
Certainly, just a sec. Bird, please, Bird. Bird, certainly, having a child is more like getting a pet goldfish. That is not a commitment. But getting married certainly is a commitment that one wouldn't want to think about after 9 years of, or 10 years of living together.
You have a point.
How long have we been doing this?
How long have we been doing this? A long time, 25 years.
And how many times have we heard, I'm not ready for a commitment?
I'm not ready for a commitment, you know, and when the kid is graduating from elementary school, maybe we'll think about the commitment of marriage.
College, maybe.
College, maybe.
We've been together off and on, not
Costa Rica, maybe.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And later today...
She saw a ring that she liked, and she said, I really like that ring. Would you buy it for me? And you said, I'll only buy it for you if you really love me. And she said, I really love you.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Janine Barnard says her twin sister, Jennifer Barnard, used her information to set up a cell phone account.
You've had 10 years to pay the $319. So let me explain this to you, Miss Jennifer. Mr. Wonderful over here may not be prepared to make a commitment, and you may not be prepared to make a commitment to each other, even for the sake of your child. Do you understand?
Yes.
That's your business. I can't clear up the world one case at a time. But I can tell you this. You are going to pay that $319 for the phone bill that you owe. Do I make myself clear?
Yes.
And if you don't want to pay, Jennifer is going to pay it to her on your behalf. And then Jennifer can get the money back from you. We understand each other, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
That doesn't sound unreasonable, does it?
No, not at all.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $319. Get out of here.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I agreed with what Judge Judy said.
It's bogus. It's 10 years old.
He just didn't know that he owed the money, and she could have just asked him out for it.
And she brought the phone for me out of the kindness of her heart.
Because she's money hungry and she just wants money.
So why should I give her money for a present that she gave me?
I don't have a future relationship with my sister.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Chenier versus Irby. Step forward, please.
21-year-old stock person Chris Chenier is suing his ex-girlfriend, 21-year-old student Jessica Irby, for the cost of 2 rings he bought for her. Chris says Jessica's a cheater.
Don't get comfortable, Bird. This is not going to take long.
I'm never comfortable.
Good. How old are you?
I'm 21.
How old are you?
21.
You want money back from her for a couple of rings that you bought her, and you
Yeah.
say she promised to give you the money back.
Yep.
Yep. Try yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
What do you do for a living?
I work at Walmart.
And what do you do?
I don't have a job right now.
Do you live home?
Yes.
Do you go to school?
Yes, Your Honor.
What kind of school?
HCC, college.
Okay. Let me tell the story, because that way Bird won't get bored. Try to pay attention, Bird.
Yes.
When you were dating, you went with her to the mall.
Yes, Your Honor.
Very good. Quick learner. And according to you, she saw a ring that she liked.
Yes, Your Honor.
Because I read your papers very carefully. And she said, I really like that ring.
Yes.
And would you buy it for me?
Yes.
And you said, I'll only buy it for you if you really love me.
Yes.
That's what you said.
Yes, Your Honor.
And in what month was that, sir?
April.
And she said, I really love you.
Yes, Your Honor.
So you bought the ring.
Yes, Your Honor.
And then in June, she broke up with you.
Well, July.
Or July. Now, putting it all together, it is your claim that because she told you she loved you in April and broke up with you in July, she really lied.
Yes.
And therefore, she's not entitled to the ring.
Yes.
Now, Mr. Chenier, if she really loved you in April,
Yes.
she'd be entitled to the ring. It was a gift then. Is that correct?
Well, it was more of a promissory ring.
No, 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 no. You just said that you said to her, I'll buy you the ring if you really love me.
Yes.
And she said, I really love you. And at the moment she did. Did you ever hear of Elizabeth Taylor?
No.
You never heard of Elizabeth Taylor?
No, I haven't.
How about Eminem? Did you
Yes.
ever hear of Eminem?
Yes.
Did you ever hear of Costa Rica?
I hear there are a lot of Americans in Costa Rica.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 21-year-old stock person Chris Chenier is suing his ex-girlfriend, 21-year-old student Jessica Irby, for the cost of 2 rings he bought for her.
Mr. Chenier, you have to get over it, sir. She loved you in April. She didn't love you in July. You bought her the rings. She doesn't love you anymore. Put a period. Get over it. Goodbye. Have a happy life.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Now I know never to trust Jessica anymore.
I said I loved him, but I never once said I'd pay him for the ring back.
She cheated on me before I bought her the ring and after I bought her the ring.
I never cheated on him like he's trying to say I did.
She used me.
Feelings change, things happen.
I'm just not going to be friends with her anymore.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Cheek versus Bailey. Step forward, please.
19-year-old student Kevin Cheek is suing his ex-roommate, 21-year-old bank representative Blake Bailey, for the return of rent. Kevin says they were evicted after only 2 weeks.
Mr. Cheek, according to what I read, you rented a room from the defendant in his condo or apartment.
Yes.
You rented it in May of this year. Is that correct?
Yes.
You gave him $600?
Yes.
That was your monthly rent for the room.
Yes.
You moved in May 2nd, 2003.
Yes.
According to your complaint, something happened with the landlord of the whole place, not this young man. And they told everybody that they had to be out by the end of May. So you decided to leave May 19th. And you want him to give you all your money back.
Yes.
Why do you think you're entitled to any money back?
Because I paid him $600
That
when
I said.
moved in. Yes, and I wasn't informed. There's a few things I wasn't informed about when I moved in, such as the drug dealing going around the house. There was always people coming in and out, nonstop, and it was just always a problem around me, and I'm not into that. I don't do that, and I don't know. The landlord can actually add to that. He knows a little about that.
The landlord of it.
Nope.
The landlord told them they had to be out the end of the month.
I wasn't informed in that when I moved in. He never told me. The landlord told him the month before that they were to be out by next month. And I was never told that before when I paid him the money. He never told me that. And nobody had to pay rent. The landlord said, everybody move out, nobody pay rent, and just get out of here, you know? So there's no reason why I shouldn't get my $600 back if nobody else paid money. So, but there was other things I was actually told about.
No, he's just an interesting businessman. You didn't rent from the landlord. You rented from him. You paid $600 a month for your room for the entire month of May. You didn't like what was going on. You said there was drug deal, whatever was going on in the house. It started right as soon as you moved in.
Yes.
Correct? So you stayed there May 2nd, May 3rd, May 4th, May 5th, May 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, right?
Yes.
And you moved out the 19th.
Yes.
You could have stayed the 20th, 21st, 22nd, 23rd, 24th.
No, because it was, there's too much going on. There was.
So listen to me. Listen to me, sir. Same thing that was going on May 18th would have been going on May 28th.
Yes.
You paid $600. Is it your complaint that he didn't pay any money, so why should you have to pay?
Yeah, I think it's totally he should pay, you know. It's money that wasn't given to the landlord. Landlord never
you gave it to your landlord. That's your landlord. He's not your landlord. You never signed a lease with him. Did you, sir, just answer this question. Don't move. On May 1st, did you ever meet with this young man?
No.
On April 29th, did you ever meet with this young man?
No.
Right.
I met him that month.
Shh.
Okay.
He's not your landlord. He was your landlord. Your contract was with him. You paid him the $600. You could have stayed there the whole month.
But I chose not to because I didn't want to.
Here we go. Listen, did you ever hear of the expression, Mr. Cheek, due diligence?
No, actually.
Due diligence means when you enter into a contract, in this case it was a verbal contract for rent, you're supposed to look into the circumstances surrounding that contract. So you could have, if you wished, contacted the landlord. That's this gentleman sitting over here who's dying to talk to me, but I'm not going to let him. And said, listen, I just want to know if everything's okay with this place, whether these people are okay, how long their lease is. Because I want to know if I'm going to move in, I want to be there more than a month. Because you had a month-to-month tenancy with him if you didn't have a lease. And you didn't have a lease with him, did you?
No.
So it's month-to-month. So you could have gone to the landlord and gotten that information. You chose not to. You lived there for a month. The fact that you chose to leave on the 19th, that was your choice.
Why should I pay that full month, though? That's not $600 worth of rent.
Okay. Let me ask you this question. I'm going to give you this analogy, Mr. Cheek, and then I'm going to just dismiss your case. But I'd like you to hear the analogy. Let's say you go into a delicatessen and you order a hot pastrami sandwich on rye, which costs $9.95 because of inflation. And you get the sandwich, and it's a very, very fat sandwich. And all you can eat is half. And the bill comes, and they give you a bill for $9.95. And you say, I'm not going to pay you $9.95 for this sandwich because I only ate half. I'm only going to pay you $4.50. The owner of the delicatessen says, listen, that's your problem. You could have eaten the whole sandwich. It's not my fault you sent the rest of it back. You chose only to eat half. You chose to leave on the 19th of May, Mr. Cheek. You had a choice. Your choice was to eat the whole pastrami sandwich or just half of it. Do you understand?
Yes.
Your case is dismissed. Goodbye. Have a happy life.
Yeah, this is case number 216 on the calendar in the matter of Wagner versus Mueller-Schulte. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Mr. Wagner, 2 of your cars were vandalized. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you were furious. You had no idea who did it, so you decided to post a reward, a $100 reward, for information leading to the arrest and capture of the people who had vandalized your cars.
Yes, Your Honor.
Fortunately for you, somebody came forward, gave you the names of 2 people. These 2 young men, you want them to be responsible for the damage that was done to your car. I would like the parents of these 2 young men to sit down because they have absolutely nothing to do with this except if I make a judgment in Mr. Wagner's favor. And I don't want their sons to have any support. Move over. Name?
Brett.
Name?
Chris.
What grade are you in?
Going in 6th.
I'd like you to end everything that you say to me with, Your Honor.
Yes,
What grade are you in?
6th.
Your Honor.
Your Honor.
Let's try it one more time. What grade are you in?
6th, Your Honor.
That's better. And you?
7th, Your Honor.
That's good. You see, these two boys say that they were there, but somebody by the name of Tony did all the damage to your cars. We used to call that, in the family court, the Soddy principle. S-O-D-D-I. Some other dude did it. When was the damage done to your car, Mr. Wagner?
The damage done to my vehicles, Your Honor, on May 29th. The vehicles are scratched on the driver's side from the front to the back, all the way down the side.
Now, where were these cars parked?
They're parked beside my house on the street, and they're all parked in a row facing uphill. It's a very steep hill at that point.
Were any other cars damaged that day?
Yes, Your Honor.
How many?
The guesstimates from the neighborhood association said there's approximately 14 vehicles damaged that day.
May I see pictures of your cars, please?
Yes, Your Honor.
Are you tired? Are you tired?
Yes.
That's unfortunate. Stand up and put your hands at your sides. Thank you. Okay, you posted a reward, and somebody responded.
Yes, Your Honor.
And as a result of that, you were led to these two young men. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Where were you on the night of May 29th?
Over at Brett's house, staying the night.
Brett's house?
Mm-hmm.
Had you stayed at Brett's house before?
Mm-hmm.
Who else was there?
Tony.
Had Tony stayed there before?
Mm-hmm.
I don't hear you.
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you know Tony from school? Look at my eyes.
No, Your Honor.
You knew him from the neighborhood?
Yes, Your Honor.
And how old is he?
14, Your Honor.
Now, when Tony stayed at Brett's house, the night that you were there, was Brett's mother home?
Yes.
Was Brett's mother ever in the same room with Tony?
No.
She never came in to look at you and to see that you were together?
No.
What was she doing?
Sleeping, Your Honor.
You mean she was sleeping when Tony got there?
No, she was upstairs watching TV.
And she never came downstairs?
No.
When did you invite Tony to your house to stay over?
The night the damage happened, Your Honor.
Where were you when you invited him to sleep over?
In my basement, Your Honor.
What time?
I invited him at 9 o'clock, Your Honor.
9 o'clock in the morning?
9 o'clock at night.
Did he call his mother?
Yes, Your Honor.
And I assume his mother said it was okay?
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, what did your mother say when you asked her if he could stay over?
She said yes, Your Honor.
At what time did the three of you go out to vandalize these cars?
We went out at 3 o'clock, Your Honor.
3 o'clock in the morning?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you get up from your bed?
We was downstairs watching TV, Your Honor.
And where was your mother?
In her room sleeping, Your Honor.
Who else lives in your house?
My dad and my older brothers.
Where was your father?
In his bed sleeping too, Your Honor.
Now, this was on a Thursday night. Did you have school on Friday?
It was when the school was out, Your Honor.
School's out May 29th where you live?
Yes. We live in Nebraska, Your Honor.
Well, they must raise very smart children in Nebraska for school to end so early. So at 3 o'clock in the morning, you all decided to get up and go out. Where were you going?
We was going out to vandalize cars, Your Honor.
Quiet. And how did you intend to vandalize these cars, sir?
We had a box cutter, Your Honor.
Where did you get the box cutter from?
My dad's toolbox, Your Honor. Tony's the one that got it.
Just a second. Where was your father's toolbox?
Down in the basement, Your Honor.
So you allowed Tony to take the box cutter from your father's toolbox?
No, Your Honor.
Sure you did. You saw him take it, didn't you?
No, Your Honor.
Well, you just told me that Tony took a box cutter. How do you know that?
Because Chris told me. Your Honor.
Oh, did you see him take the box cutter?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you told Brett? Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did Brett tell his mother?
No, Your Honor.
Because that was your intention, for the box cutter to be used to vandalize cars, isn't that right?
Yes.
And that's what happened. Isn't that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I never heard about this community association watch-out thing or the reward or anything else about this.
He's lost. He's lost. With you for a mother, he's lost.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Steve Wagner claims 11-year-old Brett Mueller and 13-year-old Christopher Schulte vandalized his vehicles.
Now, who acted as the lookout?
I did, Your Honor.
And what did you do?
I went with Tony, but I didn't touch no car.
Whose responsibility other than Brett's was it to look out for people to make sure nobody saw you?
Brett.
You were just there.
Mm-hmm.
You should have stayed in bed. Now, where is Brett's mother? Does Brett have a mother here?
Oh, sorry, yes.
Try not looking at your nails. Step up.
Move over.
Now I'm going to read to you. Tony is the kid who did all the damages. The plaintiff is trying to hold my son responsible. Mr. Mueller, this is according to your answer. Mr. Mueller is known to harass teens in the neighborhood, but mine should not be one of them. I refuse to take responsibility for this other kid's actions. Is that what you wrote? Huh?
Yes.
You want to take it back?
No.
After what your son just told me?
No, because I was told by a police detective that he has harassed other kids in the neighborhood.
Did you hear what your son just told me? He told me that he acted as the lookout. While Tony, the elusive Tony, and we're going to find out a little bit more about Tony, vandalized other people's cars. Now, that's not to say that I believe him, that he didn't touch this box cutter, but they got up at 3 o'clock in the morning out of your house, where you should have been watching 3 teenage boys, but you weren't, because I don't know whether you were drunk or smoking something or just sleeping, but you were certainly zonked out, so you didn't hear 3 teenagers get out of your house 3 o'clock in the morning, go outside, vandalize 14 cars, and then say, my boy isn't responsible. He's not responsible for not only a little piece of the damage, but he's responsible for none of the damage. It's all his fault because he harasses children. That's what you wrote here.
Why am I being accused of drinking or smoking?
Because I want to tell you something, madam. When I had teenage children in my house, I knew if they got up 3 o'clock in the morning to go out in the middle of the night, I would have gone to check on those children to make sure that at a reasonable hour,
First of all,
that
I didn't
because
even
they
know
said
Tony was even staying. Nobody asked me.
Just a second. Your son just told me that he went to you and asked you if Tony could sleep over, and you said yes. Then you tell me, I didn't even know Tony was there. Well, if you are the mother of a teenager, you're supposed to know where your son is all the time. And you're not supposed to go upstairs to go to sleep when you have 3 teenage children playing around in the basement or watching television in your house, because it's your responsibility to ensure their safety while they're in your charge. That's why I say either that or you're just a terrible mother. I'm not sure which one. Now, when you ask your son what happened, and this man comes to you and says, look what your son did to my car.
He never produced any evidence when he came over to our house to talk to us.
He doesn't have to produce evidence. You ask your son just like I did. You sit him down and you say to him, what's going on here?
And we did with 2 police officers there that he brought.
And?
And Brett had said that he had been there, but he had not touched any of the vehicles.
He acted as the lookout. I just answered the question. He knows what a lookout is. It was his job to make sure that nobody was around while that's what he says. And again, I'm not so sure it's true. But that's what he admitted to. Did he admit to the police officers he acted as a lookout?
Not that I know.
No.
But I live 2 blocks from this gentleman, and I never heard about this community association watch-out thing or the reward or anything else about this.
So?
I didn't even know that there was a community association. I'm just saying. How come I didn't hear about this when this happened?
He's lost. He's lost. With you for a mother, he's lost. Because what you're supposed to say to a child today is, It's the first time I'm hearing about it, Judge. A, he got punished because he went out 3 o'clock in the morning. B, I never realized that he was part of this plot. I mean, if he was an adult, he'd be in jail. Before me, he would be in jail because he was the lookout in the commission of vandalism of 14 vehicles. That's what he did. And instead of saying to him, you're in deep trouble, boy, you're saying, I didn't know about the association. It's his fault because he's harassing children. It's not your son's fault because, according to you, he allowed Tony to stay at your house without your permission, got up 3 o'clock in the morning, gave Tony or allowed him to have your husband's tool for the express purpose of vandalizing cars, and you're blaming everybody else except him.
Oh, I'll
well,
blame him. I'll take care of him when I get home.
Good. That's all you had to say just now. That's all you had to say is, Judge, I never heard this before. It's the first time I heard it. And I'm going to take care of him when I get home. And I do owe Mr. Mueller an apology. That's all you had to say. You want to stand up now? Let's start out with the premise that your son just gave me a lot of who shot John. That going out there for the purposes of vandalizing cars makes him responsible. Do you understand?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
Now, has he ever told you this story before?
He told me a little bit of the story, but this is the first I heard about 3 o'clock in the morning, and the first I heard about 14 cars. Now, he did admit to the 2 vehicles of Mr. Wagner's, but I don't know anything about 14 other cars.
I don't care if I only have Mr. Wagner here.
And he did admit he was there. He was guilty by association for being there. Whether he
went out for the express purpose of vandalizing cars.
He may have. I don't know. He never admitted it to me yet. So.
Well, he just did to me, didn't he?
Well, he still needs to admit it to me, and we will deal with it.
Well, let me hear you.
Yes.
Yes, what?
Yes, what?
I did. Was it?
And what do you say?
Just a second.
What do you say to me?
I'm sorry.
Now, what do you say to Mr. Wagner?
I'm sorry.
Now, Ms. Schulte, there's inadequate supervision in that household. If I were you, I would not let my son sleep there again. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
The damage to the 2 cars comes to $2,336. Now, neither one of you 2 boys seems to be able to tell anybody what Tony's last name is, what his telephone number is,
Your Honor.
anything about him. Yes.
My husband and my son and Chris took the police to Tony's house.
Yes.
And gave the last number and the phone number to the police to give to Mr. Wagner.
Did you ever get it?
If he got it from the police, I don't know.
Did you ever get it?
No, Your Honor, I have not, and I've been in contact with the investigating officer at least 2 times for the last 2 weeks.
Now, I would advise the 2 of you to go into small claims court and sue Tony's mother for 1/3 of the damage that I am assessing against you. Because it's not his responsibility to go and find the elusive Tony. It's your responsibility to go and find the elusive Tony. So in this case,
he's a ward of the state, so there's no way we'd be able to do that.
Well, that's unfortunate. Then the judgment is going to fall on you. Judgment for the plaintiff, the amount of $2,336. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
From what I understand, he's been harassing all the children.
First of all, I don't know anything about the harassment of other children.
If he's got a problem, he should come to the parents, not go to the kids.
I've had no contact with other children other than my neighbors. Children, they're super kids.
I guess I'm going to say he was harassing my mom, too.
Because of the gang that these kids have put together, they kind of hold us hostage in our neighborhood.
There's nothing to do back in our town, so they ride bikes. That's a gang.
Parents better be aware of what their children are doing.
Pamela Beverly is suing the mother of her daughter's schoolmate, Rhonda Mayo, for medical bills and pain and suffering. Pamela claims 12-year-old Jessica Mayo injured her daughter at school.
Miss Beverly, this case really involves your daughter.
Yes, ma'am.
You weren't there when this incident happened, but it is your claim that the defendant's daughter injured your daughter. You want her to pay the medical bills.
Yes, ma'am.
But you weren't there. You don't know. Let's have the girls up and the mom seated, please. Tell me your name.
Crystal Beverly.
How old are you, Crystal?
13. Jessica May, I'm 12 years old.
Okay, Crystal, why don't you tell me when this happened? What date?
I think March 27th.
Were you friends?
Yes.
How long have you been friends?
Since the first day of school.
So since September?
Yes.
And this was March, so you've been friends for a long time?
Yes, ma'am.
You like each other?
Yes, ma'am.
So tell me what happened.
We were walking down to the bus for dismissal, and when we were stopping off the sidewalk, she had booty bumped me, and I fell.
Now, what is a booty bump?
It's when you bump somebody with your butt, you go like this.
Just like that?
Yes, if she did it harder, and then that caused me to fall.
Show me.
We were down from the sidewalk. She went like that, and I fell. And then she walked over to the sign that said Crittenton, and I laid there crying. And then one of my other friends came up to school and helped me get to the bus.
That's okay. And you had to have surgery on your kneecap?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, let's hear your version of what happened.
We were coming down the stairs of the school in the afternoon. We were going to the bus stop. Then I gave her a booty bump, and we were still talking and laughing and walking. Then she tripped over her own footstep.
That's not true.
So you're telling me that you gave her a booty bump?
Yes.
You went like that?
Yes.
You weren't angry with her?
No.
And you continued to talk?
Yes, we were still talking and laughing and walking.
And it was later that she fell?
Yes, and she fell over her own foot.
Would you step up, please? Miss Beverly, I want you to tell me the exact conversation you had with your daughter when she got home.
It was on March the 24th, Your Honor, and she told me that they were walking to the bus stop and Jessica booty bumped her and she fell on her knee. I thought it was just a bad sprain, so I didn't take her to the emergency room until the day after.
You have the medical report, please?
Just the medical report.
What were your unreimbursed medical expenses?
It was $1,083.
All right, Miss Mayor, why don't you stand up with your daughter?
Your Honor, may I say something else?
Yes.
The day after I came from the emergency room, before I spoke to Miss Mayo, I spoke to Jessica to see where the story's the same. Jessica told me the exact same thing. She booty bumped Crystal, and she fell and hurt her knee.
Is that right?
That's not true.
Okay. You have anything you want to say to me?
Yes, ma'am. When Jessica had told me that her and Crystal were playing at the bus stop and that Crystal had fallen, I said, oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I didn't know how serious it was until after Mrs. Beverly spoke with me on the phone. And she did tell me that Jessica and Crystal were playing and Crystal fell.
Well, they were. You know, there's no question in my mind that your daughter did not intend to cause injury to her friend, right?
Right.
But sometimes when you fool around, that happens. I mean, there's no issue that your daughter did not intentionally harm Miss Mayo's little girl. But they were fooling around, and she gave her a
tap. Yes, a bump.
And she fell. And she didn't fall afterwards. She's making up. She fell then. She didn't mean to hurt her. It wasn't an intentional thing. It was, as Crystal said when she first started, an accident. That's the way you described it, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Because you lost your balance when she gave you that push.
Yes, ma'am.
Right? Okay. That, Miss Mayo, suggests to me that you should be more than willing to contribute to the unreimbursed medical expenses that your daughter's fooling around caused. Because but for the fact that she gave her a nudge, she would not have tripped and fallen, and she would not have had this injury. Certainly, you are not entitled to pain and suffering, Miss Beverly, from the defendant, because I don't believe that this was an intentional act. I think that these two young girls were friends. I believe that in all probability, your daughter has done this booty bumping ever to other people.
Yes, ma'am.
Fortunately, nobody got hurt. Do you understand, Miss Beverly?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Okay. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,083. Thank you.
Marcia Lambert claims her mother's neighbor, Tammy Kedward, owes for spray painting vulgarities onto her car and punching her in the face. Tammy claims Marcia was sleeping with her husband. She is countersuing for emotional distress.
Miss Lambert, you were having a romantic relationship with the defendant's husband.
Yes, Your Honor.
I assume this was the husband.
Yes, Your Honor.
This was about a year ago?
A little over a year, yes, ma'am.
Miss Kedward lost it with you one day, came to where you were staying, and assaulted you.
Yes, Your Honor.
She admits that she assaulted you. She also admits that she pled guilty to a simple assault, and she received a fine. Her defense to your action for damages for both your medical bills and your pain and suffering is that you weren't injured. She is counterclaiming for her medical bills, she says, because you've caused her a lot of stress. When did you meet Miss Kedward's husband?
About July 9th of 2005.
Where?
at my mother's house.
What relationship does he have with your mother?
They're the next-door neighbors to my mom.
Were they both living together at the time?
Yes, they were.
Well, when did you start a relationship with Mr. Kedward?
After he told me that he had asked Tammy for a divorce.
But they were still together?
Sort of, kind of.
They were still living under the same roof?
They were living, yes.
Big mistake on your part. Big. When did you start the relationship?
What exact date?
Yeah.
That it turned romantic?
Yes.
Was August 28th of 2005.
So it didn't take long. Now, when did Ms. Kedward assault you?
On August 31st.
Tell me about it.
I was over visiting my mother. My car was parked in the back driveway. She came over and spray painted my car with some obscenities and bright orange paint. I saw her do it. We went back inside to call the police. She knocked on the front door, asked me to come outside. My mother came outside with me. She was yelling all kinds of profanities. And
that's not true.
And I was standing between her and my mother tried to explain some stuff to her, and I was looking at my mother. She reached over, grabbed the back of my hair, yanked, jumped on top of me, punched me, blood went everywhere. Meanwhile,
punched you where?
In the nose, and then punched me again in the cheek. Meanwhile, my mother managed to pull her off of me, and my 82-year-old grandmother was standing on the porch calling the police.
And you were arrested?
No.
Taken into custody?
No.
Did you press charges?
Yes, I did.
Okay, Ms. Kedward, why don't you tell me what happened on the 31st of August?
I drove up from work. I got out of the car, and she came out of her mother's house and said,
"That is a lie, Your Honor."
Listen to me. I cut her off when she interrupted you. Don't speak until she's finished. Go ahead.
I got out of the car, and she came out of the front door and said something that I didn't understand what it was that she said. Nevertheless, she said something. And I just went inside, and I called my husband, told my husband that she was saying something to me.
But you didn't know what?
I didn't know what. It was something.
Well, why would you, just a second, Ms. Kedward, why would you call your husband if she said something that you didn't understand?
Because I had found out 3 days prior that there was something going on between them.
Okay, did you confront your husband with it?
Yes.
And what did he tell you?
He told me the truth. He told me that they were having a relationship, but that it was more as a friend relationship, that he didn't say that it was not intimate. He just told me that basically they had been doing a lot of talking on the phone.
So when you came home on the 31st and you claimed Miss Lampert said something to you, called your husband, and your husband said what?
He said, "Look, I don't know what's going on. Why don't you just go over there and talk to her about it, and y'all figure it out, and then you call me."
Is that what you said to her? Why don't you just go over there and ask her? Just that's either a yes or no.
Yes.
That was the first time that I ever thought of going over there.
So your cheating husband tells you to go over to the woman's house and to talk it out with her.
Yes.
And you'd listen to him.
Well, it's not that I listened to him. It's more that I thought, go over there. Sounds like a great idea. Why don't I just go over there and find out exactly what she said? And it was probably not the greatest decision in the world, but
well, first thing that you did, you went over and you sprayed her car, because that you paid for, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you painted her car before you went to ask her.
Correct.
What she had said that you didn't hear.
Right.
And then what happened?
I went over and
You sprayed her car.
I sprayed her car, went back inside and...
Back inside where?
My house.
What happened to speaking to her and about finding out what happened?
That was after.
So then you came out again, worked up a really good mad.
I was infuriated, to say the least.
Fine. So you came out.
I had asked her numerous times, very nicely, please leave my husband alone.
Why didn't you ask him?
I asked him.
So, and what did he say?
She was the instigator.
Stand up. How tall are you?
6'3".
How much do you weigh?
260.
What do you do for a living?
Mechanic.
Strong?
I guess so.
Can you walk around?
Yes.
You can walk away from her, can't you?
Yes, ma'am.
Sit down. Get what I mean? Shh. Get what I mean?
Yes, ma'am, I do. And
yeah, listen. There's only one person that owes you the responsibility and the respect and has taken a vow.
You're exactly right.
That's him.
You're right.
Not her.
I felt like if she had any compassion or any feeling that she would have backed off and she would have had respect, at least for my child.
He's supposed to have respect for your child.
I understand that. I truly believe that he did make a bad decision.
Right. But so why did you go over? So you went over there, you assaulted her, and you lost it.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Well, then you have to suffer for that. Okay, Ms. Kedward, what kind of consequence did the criminal justice system impose when you pled guilty to assault?
I had a fine of $341 and a Class C misdemeanor.
Tell me about the surgery that you had 3 months later.
I had actually 2 surgeries to try to correct. I was having trouble breathing through the right side of my nose.
Can I see the medical report?
Yes,
Your Honor?
Yeah.
She told my husband, he asked her the next day after the assault, "Are you okay?" And she told him, "It's no big deal. The same thing happened to me about a year ago when a girl hit me in a bar."
Okay.
That's a lie, Your Honor.
Just a second. Let's say that's true. What difference does it make?
So what's to say if she had any surgeries that it wasn't to correct what had happened then?
It's possible it was. That doesn't leave you. That doesn't. Shh, quiet. That doesn't let you off the hook.
I understand.
She doesn't have to sue for any medical expenses. She can just sue for pain and suffering.
I understand.
Good. Okay, so the first study date in the emergency room was September 1st, and it did say previous surgical changes are noted. Okay, so you had previous surgeries in your nose. Is that right?
From 92.
Okay, good. Now, after this happened on August 31st, did you continue a relationship with Mr. Kedward?
Yes, I did.
For how long?
It actually ended August 1st of 2006.
I don't think that's true, Your
Yeah,
Honor.
that's a bunch of bull.
Now, you were at my mother's house.
Shh, listen to me. Whether it lasted 9 months or 10 months or 12 months, it doesn't make any difference. It lasted beyond that. Was Mr. Kedward living with his wife during that time?
He went back to her the end of November of 2005.
Okay, but you continued the relationship with him months after that.
Right.
Not smart. What was he telling you all this time?
Just that he wasn't sure what he wanted and that they had a lot to work out if it was going to work and that he still loved me and he always would.
Well, Miss Lambert, why did you continue the relationship with him?
Yeah. It's not the first time she's done this. I'm sorry.
Takes 2 to tango.
Yes, ma'am.
His feet work in both directions. If he's back with you and sweet-talking her,
Thing
that's not a good
thing
thing.
about it is, Your Honor, you say I'm strong physically. I'm assuming that's what you're asking. You know, what about mentally when you have a woman like this calling you all the time and not leaving you alone? Yay. Hey.
You don't really want an answer to that question, sir.
Well.
You don't want an answer to that question, Mr. Kedward.
When I asked Miss Lambert to leave my husband alone, my words to her were, "For God's sakes, Marcia, I live next door to your mother. Please, just stop."
She used very bad judgment.
She told me that she would be living next door to her mother.
Miss Kedward.
That's a lie.
She used very bad judgment, especially after he came home in November.
He never
To live with
really
you.
left home.
Don't tell me he never really left home. Stop me seasick. Still.
Yes, ma'am.
He exercised very bad judgment. What he's trying to tell me is he may be strong physically, but mentally he's mush. That's just an excuse. What he's trying to say is, how can I withstand the wiles of Jezebel? That's ridiculous. If
That
you
was
bought it,
that was not what I
quiet.
was saying.
Quiet. There are all kinds of temptations in this world, madam. And you hope that when you marry somebody, that they're going to be able to withstand the temptations. And if they can't, it's their fault. It's not somebody else's fault. In any event, she's suing you for $4,000.
Yes, ma'am.
That, she said, represents her medical bills. You are clearly responsible for that. I want to hear about your counterclaim. You have 1 minute.
I went to the hospital that night and was in the hospital for 2 days following. I was extremely stressed out over the whole situation. I asked her repeatedly to leave my husband alone. She told me she would do what she wanted to do, when she wanted to do it, and I lost it. And I have to admit that
I'm talking about your
I went to the
counterclaim.
hospital, and I was there for 2 days because of the immense stress that this, I don't even want to call her a woman, has put me through, that she continues to put me through to
What
this
about
day.
him? Why don't you sue him?
I married him for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, in front of God, in front of all of our friends. And it's my choice to forgive him, and we have been through counseling.
Perfect. Listen to me. He's the one that owes you the responsibility of doing the right thing.
Me.
Doesn't she owe us to leave us alone?
I have.
Excuse me? Excuse me? Outside. Put him out.
Come on.
Can I add one thing?
Yeah, sure.
I was under so much stress from the immoral actions of this person that I suffered a miscarriage. My child has had to be in counseling. I have had a lot of issues because of her, and to this day.
Because of them?
Yes, ma'am.
Because of them?
She instigated it.
Because... you don't get it. You have to put it in your head. He owes you the responsibility of doing the right thing. She doesn't. He has a contract with you. Moral contract and a legal contract. He violated the contract. And I would have very little sense of an obligation to mitigate your damages if Miss Lampert did not continue the relationship after November, when she knew that the two of you were trying to work things out. Miss Lampert fully understood that. From November until, she says, August of 2006, she continued a relationship with him. That's going to hurt you, Miss Lampert, because then you knew that what you were doing was interfering with a relationship, and there is a cause of action. It's a cause of action in common law called alienation of affection. That means you are contributing to alienating the affection of her husband, and you know what that's going to cost you? $4,000. So I rule in your favor on your lawsuit in the amount of $4,000. And I rule in your favor on the counterclaim in the amount of $4,000. Neither one of you are getting anything. That's it. Goodbye.
Ian Mooney is suing his ex-girlfriend, Erin Enslin, for money owed on a lease for a Mitsubishi Eclipse. Erin says the lease is Ian's responsibility.
Mr. Mooney, this is your former girlfriend. You leased a car together. You got another car. Miss Enslin said that she would take over the lease payments on the car. She did. You broke up. She took the car with her. She drove the car for a considerable period of time. The lease was about to be up. The payoff was too much. She said, you can have the car back. I don't want it. You were forced to pay the payout on the lease, which, according to your complaint, was about $5,000. Miss Enslin says it was your car. It's your problem. That's your defense.
Yes.
When was the car leased?
October 6th of 2001, and it was leased by myself and Erin.
Okay, and how long did you drive the car together?
Until, I believe, February of 2004. Erin had found employment, and basically we agreed that I would get another car in my name, and Erin would take over the Eclipse and make the payments.
And you did that?
Yes.
For how long?
The lease was up 2006, October. I called him a few times a couple months before saying that I couldn't afford the car. It was really breaking me. So obviously there was no way I was going to be able to pay it off, and he just refused to take it off of me.
Well, but you had an agreement with him, Miss Enslin.
Yeah, as long as I'm driving the car, I'll pay for it. There were times where I called him and said, I don't want it. I don't want to drive it. It was never discussed of bringing back the lease and me paying it off.
Well, what did you expect to happen?
I'm not even on the lease.
Miss Enslin.
I'm a co-signer for the loan.
Correct.
I'm not on the title of the car. It's not my car.
But you are co-signer on the loan, right?
Right.
Okay. Now, you had this car in total how long, sir?
The full lease, 5 years between the two of us. Erin had said that she had no intention of keeping the car yet. I
believe she had intention of keeping the car as long as it was just like a lease. I'm speaking, Mr. Mooney. I believe that she had the intention of keeping the car and paying for it until it was no longer advantageous for her. You have a car now, Miss Enslin?
Do I have a car?
That's my question. Do you have a car now?
Yes, I have a car now.
What kind of car do you have?
I have a Dodge Spirit.
What year?
94.
Where did you get it from?
My parents.
Your parents gave it to you as a gift?
Yes.
When did they give it to you as a gift?
October of this year, last year.
So at about the same time that you said, I can't afford these payments anymore?
At the same time the lease was up for his car.
The same time the lease was up on a car on which you were a co-signatory?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. Can I please see the payout?
This didn't become an issue until there was damage to the car, and basically she'd gone over on the mileage.
How was the car damaged? Miss Enslin, you don't know. How was the car damaged?
There's a scrape on the side of the car.
How did it happen?
I hit something with it.
Why didn't you fix it?
Because it happened right before the lease was up. And his girlfriend at the time was actually looking into buying it, and her dad owned a garage, so there was a point where we thought that they were going to fix it and buy it and just take it off of whatever she paid for it.
Who do you live with?
My boyfriend.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm an assistant.
Assistant what?
Assistant to a businessman.
What kind of business?
He's owns a small production company.
You mean theatrical?
No, music.
And what does your boyfriend do, Miss Enslin?
He's a writer.
And what do your parents do?
My mom works in a factory. She's an accountant. And my dad fixes the roads and works for the township.
How old are you, Miss Enslin?
25.
You have to grow up and stop being a baby. If you have a responsibility, you're supposed to take care of the responsibility. You're not supposed to stick somebody else with your responsibilities. You were going to assume the responsibility on the car until you decided it was too expensive a proposition for you to take it over after the lease. So what? You relied on your parents to treat your car so you could get to and from work and not have to take care of this responsibility. You have to grow up, madam. Beauty fades, dumb is forever. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's all.
Vicky Madure claims former friend Becky Seifert ruined her credit by not paying on credit cards she helped her get.
Miss Madura, the defendant was a friend of yours.
Yes.
Who had terrible credit. And it is your claim that you were trying to be nice to her and she have a credit card. If you would take it out, make her co-holder of one of the cards, you did that for her. And the understanding was the bills would go to her and she would take care of the bills. And it is your claim that subsequent to that, she wanted to buy a motorcycle. And
yes.
Again, you agreed to be a friend and you co-signed the loan for the motorcycle with the understanding that she would make the payments promptly, which she failed to do. You subsequently found out that not only had she taken out the one credit card, but because she had all of your information, she took out a series of credit cards and built up a balance of thousands of dollars. She was also behind on the payments. She was behind on the payments on the bike as well. As a result of that, your credit, which had been pristine, took a dive. So you're suing for two things. You're suing for the return of the motorcycle to you, or its value, so that you can sell it and get out from under the payments. And second, you want damages for her ruining your credit. Ms. Seifert says that she kept her end of the bargain. She has paid on the motorcycle, although she acknowledges she doesn't pay in a prompt manner. She pays when they threaten her. That's not what she says, but I gather that's the case, that when they threaten to either sue her or repossess the motorcycle, she makes a payment. That still doesn't positively impact on your credit. And she says that she kept her end of the bargain by making the payments on the credit card. She also says that you opened up all these credit cards for her, not just the one that you say, but all of the others. When did you open up this credit card with her as a co-card holder?
Probably around June of '05, and there was only one card, and if there was all these credit cards...
No, just don't, you don't have to answer for her.
Okay.
You opened up one
June
credit...
of '05.
And with what financial institution?
MBNA, MasterCard, and both our names are on it.
And as far as you know, that is the only card that you authorized her to get?
Yes.
With your information?
Yes.
How many cards did she get using your information?
4 or 5, counting the second MBNA she took out, that she succeeded. I have documentation.
I'd like to see it, please.
Your Honor, there was only one MBNA card. There wasn't two.
I have...
How many...
There was two Chase. There was one MBNA.
No.
Ms. Seifert, how many cards did the plaintiff agree to take out in your name?
Ma'am, I went to creditcards.com with her information
listen
because...
to me. Listen.
We never determined a number. The cards that I had, that I used, several of them were mailed to her home, to her address. I didn't go to her house and steal those cards.
Ms. Seifert, you don't honestly expect, coming here today, that you're going to get over on me,
no,
right?
I don't. I'm
Good.
just telling you.
So then let me ask the questions and don't skirt around the answers, because I'll take you and I shake you, and then I get the answer.
Okay.
You came to the plaintiff and asked her if she could take out a credit card and put you as a co-holder on a credit card so that you would have a credit card to start to build up your credit. That's what you asked her, I assume. Is that right?
She offered.
Well, how would she know that you needed it, madam, unless she knew that you didn't have a credit card?
Because we were going on vacation together and we were talking about finances for vacation and the things our kids could and couldn't do.
And?
And I explained to her that I did not have a credit card with much credit on it.
That's okay, good. So she agreed to get one credit card. Now, after she got the one credit card in June of 2005, when did you apply for the other credit cards?
I did it all at the same time on creditcards.com when I got the one credit card.
Just a second. I told you, don't play with me.
I'm
smarter than you are. You just said to me, I got the other credit cards on creditcard.com after I got the one credit card.
That's not what I said.
That's exactly what you just said. I have a tape.
The one time on creditcards.com, and several cards were mailed to her house, and she knows that.
Don't tell me what she knows. Why did you take advantage of a situation where she said she would get you a credit
It was very bad
card?
judgment on my part.
Now, credit cards, did you use them to make purchases?
Yes, I did.
Did you pay all the credit cards on time?
No, ma'am, I didn't.
Then you ruined her credit.
Then I signed to be responsible for all of them.
Just
all the
a second.
papers she asked me
Just a
to, and
second.
it was taken off of
Listen,
her credit.
Listen to me. You show me where, once you signed a piece of paper to be responsible, because so far you're irresponsible, it impacted positively on her credit. Show me.
I don't know where it acted positively, but she was even told it was taken off her credit after the affidavits were signed, and I also have 2 receipts for $6,500 we've paid her.
Just a sec. For?
Towards the credit cards.
Well,
and
you didn't
towards
pay it
money
to her,
owed.
you paid it to the credit card for
No,
things that
we
you
gave
bought.
it directly to her to take care of it.
Doesn't make any difference, madam. Don't you get it? Once you become a deadbeat in the credit card world, you don't automatically become not a deadbeat just because you pay the credit card. You remain a deadbeat.
But they said that because they called it
Don't tell me-
fraudulent, it would come off of her report.
So you acknowledge that you fraudulently
No,
applied?
she made me sign those papers because if I didn't, because I'm on probation, she was going to call my probation officer, which she threatens to do all the time.
Sounds like a great idea to me. Now, let's get to the motorcycle. She also co-signed a loan for you for a motorcycle. Is there any reason why you did that, madam?
I was trying to be good-hearted, which I will never do again.
You have children?
Yes, I'll never even co-sign for my children. I've learned a lesson the worst way.
Okay. Now, do you pay for the motorcycle on time?
No, ma'am, I haven't.
Which means that you have destroyed her credit.
Yes, ma'am, I probably have with the motorcycle.
Good. Now I'd like to see what papers you have.
They asked me to bring, I brought a picture of the motorcycle. She wants the motorcycle back, but the title is solely in my name. So if she wants the bike back, she's going to have to get my name off the title that she lets ride that bike, and she's not capable of riding it herself.
Just a second.
And then I have a
When
statement
did
now
you-
that shows that all my payments are current.
You make your payments late.
Well, I mean, it shows that I'm current right now.
I don't care whether you're current right now. You make your payments late. Can I see the title to the motorcycle, please? When did you co-sign on the motorcycle?
October 05.
How much have you paid on the motorcycle?
I've made all the payments except the one she made, and I
How
paid
much
her back
do
for
you
them.
pay?
$250 a month, ma'am.
How much is the loan?
She owes, right now, there's still almost $12,000 owed. Right here it is. $11,818.42 owed.
Who are you?
Becky's boyfriend.
Stand up. What do you do for a living?
Run a rubber mill.
You earn a living?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, why don't you refinance this motorcycle?
I already have one in my name.
So what?
I don't know, ma'am.
What?
This was between them.
Well, I understand that, but you live with her. You sleep with her.
Yes.
So why should she be on the hook for her bad credit?
She was having trouble with her credit way before us.
I'm asking you a question. I just said to you, she sleeps with you, you live with her. Why don't you, the two of you, refinance this motorcycle and get it out of her name?
Well, I've got too much in my name right now with my house, my cars, and my motorcycles, so...
Your motorcycles?
I have 2 motorcycles, yes.
Well, why don't you sell one?
Because I like them.
Yeah, but you have a problem. You live in a home with this lady, and she's got a problem. So why don't you help her fix it?
Well, I did. I took out a 401k loan and paid off the credit cards that she had with her to help her out. I mean...
What does she do?
Huh?
What do you mean, huh? What does she do?
What does she do?
Yeah, what does she do?
As far as?
As far as a livelihood.
She works in a doctor's office.
She make a living?
Yes.
So why doesn't she refinance it?
Your Honor, I don't know.
Why don't you refinance it?
I can't get it just in my name, Your Honor.
Well, maybe you can get it in his name. He owns his own home.
Well, we haven't tried that, but the last time he tried to get a loan, they said he had too much credit out.
Then why don't you sell the motorcycle?
I just haven't found anybody that'll buy it. It's not worth what we owe on it.
Now, she says she wanted to sell it. Her problem was she couldn't get what was owed on it. So you would have no problem signing it over to her, right?
As long as it's out of my name, I have no problem, and I've told her that
Fine,
before.
absolutely perfect. Have her sign this over to her,
That's
please.
a memorandum title, ma'am.
So?
But that is not the actual title.
So I understand
Okay,
that.
that's
The
what I'm
actual
asking.
title has a lien on it. She can do it. As a matter of fact, we'll prepare that order that you'll sign.
That's fine.
Good. Now we know that this is now your motorcycle. We will prepare that order. Now you're suing her for $3,000 because in addition to the return of the value of the motorcycle, you want damages for ruining your credit, right?
Yes.
And hopefully the $3,000 that you're suing for that will help compensate you for the loss that you're going to suffer on the motorcycle. Do you understand?
Yes.
Very good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the addition to the order that this will now be in your name, subject to the lien, judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,000. That's all. Thank you.
27-year-old Angela Salura is suing her ex-boyfriend, 24-year-old Freddie Lara, for a loan to restore his Mustang. Freddie claims Angela paid the bill without consulting him.
Mr. Lara, it is your claim that the defendant, who is an old boyfriend of yours, owes you some money.
Correct.
For a loan that you made to him. The purpose of the loan was to have an old car fixed.
Yes.
This was a specialty car?
It's just, it's going to be a classic soon. It's just a car I always wanted
Me
to fix
too.
up.
What kind?
I clean windows on high rises.
That's a pretty dangerous job.
Yeah.
How long have you been doing that?
Like 7, 8 years now.
Make a good living?
Yeah, except when they lay you off.
Well, you don't do it when it's windy or snowing or raining.
Right.
How much do you make a year?
Anywhere from 48 to 68,000 a year.
And how many people do you support?
Just myself.
What kind of car is this that you have?
It's a 1986 Ford Mustang GT.
And your age, sir?
24 now.
Got a lot of money in the bank?
No, unfortunately.
Do you own a home?
No, I'm working on it. I'm renting an apartment for now.
Well, you make a lot of money. What do you do with all your money?
It's expensive to live in New York.
You don't put any money away?
No, I try. Not really.
You need a good woman, sir, to help you out. You also have a claim for harassment. It is your claim that he's been making harassing phone calls to you, and it's because you believe it's because you confronted his now girlfriend and told her that he was still involved with you.
She did not know about the payments. She never knew. He began dating her a week after we broke up, and she just found out about our involvement beginning of January
How
of
did
this
she
year.
find out?
She found a text message in his phone.
Is that right, sir?
Yes, sir, because she was harassing.
She was harassing for what?
Yeah, she was mad about the breakup, so she
She
couldn't
mad
leave
about
me
the
alone.
breakup, or did she ask you for money?
She was harassing me about everything.
Was money involved?
Yes.
These are not hard questions, sir. Now, tell me about this loan.
We were dating for about a year, and within that time, he needed some major repair work done on the car. It was a car that both of us were using for transportation, or rather him. I don't drive. I don't have a license.
So he was driving you around?
Yes. I used to live with him, and where we live, you cannot get around unless you have a car.
How long did you live together?
About 9 months.
Where were you living at the time? In your apartment?
Staying with my mom at the time.
So how were you living together?
She
Where did
allowed-
you live together?
In his bedroom.
At his mother's house?
In his mother's house.
Just a second. In his mother's house. So neither one of you were paying any rent?
I did I tried to give them money as much as I could.
Don't tell me tried. I'm not interested in your trying. So you weren't paying any rent? And you weren't paying any rent?
We were, when we could.
Well, sir, if you make $50,000 a year, it seems to me you could help out with your own rent. What does your mother do for a living?
She's a stay-at-home mom.
Well, how does she support herself?
Her boyfriend.
And she had the two of you living there?
Yes, correct.
Tell me about the loan.
He needed some major repair work done on the car. The car was not running, and he asked if he could use my credit card because I don't have any money except for my credit card, and he told me he would pay me back. So I lent him the credit card, and within that time, he was making payments to me weekly.
To you or to the credit card?
He was giving them to me, and I was paying the credit card because the credit card was in my name.
How much was he giving you?
Anywhere from $100 to $200 a week.
Tell me when you actually put the bill on your credit card. What was the date?
Between June and July, 7 transactions were put on the credit card in the amount of about $5,000.
I'd like to see it.
Sure.
Who had physical possession of the credit card?
I did.
So how would this money be placed on the credit card?
A few times I went with him to use the credit card, and there were a few times where I just gave him the card. And I never used the credit card, Your Honor, with the exception of maybe 1 or 2 times. It was all of the car repairs.
Who has the car now?
It's his car. He has it.
When did you break up?
August 26th of 2006.
So shortly after the car was taken
Yes.
care of. Now, Mr. Lara, I read your answer. Your answer says that you had made an arrangement with the place that was fixing your car, that you were going to pay them out.
Yes.
And she took it upon herself to go in with a credit card and pay the bill. But that's not true, because there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different times that the credit card was used. So you must have known about it.
Yes, I did.
And did you say, don't do it because I'm going to pay them
Absolutely.
out?
I insisted that she didn't do it.
Each time you said, don't do it because I'm going to pay them out.
She said it's something we both need, so.
I believe that. No, I believe that. Listen to me, Mr. Lara. I believe that she said to you, listen, I use the car because she did use the car. So she said, we're both using the car, so I'm going to pay for it. Instead of paying them, pay me. And she says that you were giving her money, Mr. Lara.
Yeah, I felt bad. I didn't want her to spend so much for
Now,
a gift.
you felt bad when you were living together?
Yes.
Speak up!
Yes.
Scared to death of me or what? Are you always this low energy, sir?
Yes.
It's very hard to get excited with you, Mr. Lara. Mr. Lara, I want you to pay careful attention to all my words, sir. While you were living together, you felt badly about what she spent on the car, on your car, so you were giving her money.
Yes.
After you broke up, you stopped feeling badly, so you stopped giving her money. Is that what you're telling me?
She kept on harassing.
No. Don't tell me her. I don't want to hear harassing. I want to hear while you were living together and using the car together. Listen, I want you to follow the logic of this. You were paying her while you were together and using the car together, right?
Yes.
After you broke up with her and started to see your new girlfriend and she wasn't using the car anymore with you, you didn't feel badly anymore, so you stopped giving her money.
Well, I didn't want it to interfere with my relationship. She kept harassing me because things with her, who she was trying to get with, wasn't going well, so I think she's suing me because of the breakup.
I don't give a rat's behind what you think. I asked you a very simple question, and you understand my question, because I don't think there's total vacancy between your ears, sir. While you were together and both using it, you paid her for laying out the money. When you were no longer together and she wasn't using the car, you stopped paying her. That's what you're telling me. That's objective, not what you thought, what you felt. That's what happened. Doesn't that sound stupid to you?
No, because it was a gift.
Mr. Lara, I know that you have this word gift in your mind, but what you did in paying her belies the fact that it was a gift, sir. You paid her for the credit card. Hundreds and hundreds of dollars, according to her, because she's only suing you for what she claims is the balance, which is $3,400. And the total was close to $5,000 to fix the car. So you paid her a lot of money to pay down the credit card. Do you understand, sir?
Yes.
Was he more exciting when you were together?
He had his moments.
Few and far between.
He has a problem with confrontation, Your Honor.
He has a problem with confrontation?
Yes.
Oh, and I love confrontation. That's why we don't get along. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,400. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
23-year-old Andrew Geraldson says his former friend, Brett Spielman, slashed 3 of his tires. Andrew claims his mother witnessed the incident.
Ms. Powers, this is your son?
Yes.
According to your complaint, your son and the defendant had been friends.
Correct.
They were out together one evening. There was a falling out. Later that evening, according to you, the defendant slashed 3 of the tires on your car.
Correct.
You want him to be responsible for replacing them. Mr. Spielman says he didn't do it. What's your first name?
Andrew.
How old are you, Andrew?
23.
How long do you know Mr. Spielman?
I've known Mr. Spielman since about the 7th grade.
On what night were you out together, the night that the tires were slashed?
I believe it was a Friday night. I don't remember the exact
Remember
date.
the night?
29th, I think.
29th of?
December.
Where had you been?
We were on our way to Randy White's brother-in-law's boss's house.
You were driving?
Yes, I was
What happened
driving.
in the car?
An argument started because Brett Spielman wanted to get some marijuana and everybody else in the car was against that. And
Where did he want to go to get the marijuana?
to his dealer's house.
And did you know where that was?
No, I did not.
Did he tell you where it was?
No, he did not.
Was it on the way?
I hadn't even agreed to it, so he didn't get to the point of telling me where it was
Well,
at.
tell me exactly what he said.
He said, I want to go get some pot. Can you take me? And I said, no. And nobody else in this car wants to do that. Can you please stop with that altogether?
How many other people were in the car?
2, besides me and Brett.
And who are they?
Randy White and Brandon, his brother-in-law, which I do not know his last name.
So what happened?
So I said no, and he started ranting and raving and basically basically turned it into an argument with Randy White, and they were going back and forth, and I didn't want to hear it anymore, so I said, please stop, because they didn't get along anyway. So it basically had turned into an argument with them, and I said...
Where was he sitting, in the front or the back?
He was sitting in the front seat, beside me.
Okay, go ahead.
And then we had arrived to Randy's boss's house. We had both got out of the car while Randy and his brother-in-law went upstairs. We were downstairs smoking a cigarette, and it was going to take a turn to get violent because he was saying threats and all this.
Against whom?
Against me.
Why was he threatening you? I thought he was having an argument with Randy.
The argument was with Randy, but I took involvement in it because Randy was a lot smaller than him, and I didn't want it to go there, so I stepped up in Randy's place and then
And what did you say to him?
I said, you need to stop all this right now or I'm going to make you walk home. And he said, you're not going to make me walk home, this and that. And
Had he been drinking?
Have I been drinking?
Had he been drinking?
No, I do not think he had been drinking.
It was just nasty?
Yeah, he was just nasty with me.
Okay, keep going.
And then Randy and his brother-in-law had come back down, and we all got in the car, and I said, I'm going to make him walk home because he's just being too defiant for any of us to deal with.
What did he say when you told him he was going to walk home?
He got even worse, but...
Well, tell me what he said, Mr. Peck.
He was using a lot of cuss words, a lot of profanity, a lot of I'm going to everybody in that car, and just threats.
And that was on the 29th of December?
Yes.
What time?
I would say it was about 8 p.m.
Okay. Now let's fast forward a little bit, Ms. Powers. Tell me about the incident involving your tires. When did that take place?
December 30th.
What time?
I would say around shortly before 10, but not exactly. I don't know.
So tell me what happened.
Okay. It was a very, very stormy night. The wind was blowing and howling, and it was raining a lot. And the dog was circling the front door. And she was like yipping and barking, and she doesn't usually have that kind of behavior at all unless someone's at the door. But I opened the door and nobody was there. She kept doing it. So I opened the door again, and Mr. Spielman was standing on the other side of the car. My driveway comes up where the car is parked directly outside my front door, so I can clearly see it. And I said, what are you doing? Because it's kind of late to be coming over. And I thought he was coming to see my son, and just looked at me and took off.
Didn't say anything to you. Okay, keep going.
The next day I got up to go to work, and I, of course, didn't see the first tire because it was fine. Walked around the car and saw 1, 2, 3 tires flat. And so I called someone to come and take me to get new tires and called into work.
Okay, when did you see Andrew?
I saw him later that day.
Do you remember that day, Andrew?
Not too clearly. I remember her saying that 3 of my tires were slashed. Do you have any idea who would do it? And I said, I most certainly have an idea of who did it.
Well, I also...
Shut up!
Okay.
Don't speak. You said, I most certainly have an idea who did it.
Yes, regarding the incident. The incident.
And so you told your mother about the incident?
Yes.
And what did your mother say to you?
And then she said, I seen Brett in our driveway. I was thinking he would come up to get you, because at the time she didn't think I was enemies with Brett. And I said, well, that's who did it.
Okay. So when you said to her, I certainly do, and then she said to you, I saw
Brett in the driveway. And then we knew right there who it was.
Okay, good.
I just didn't think Brett would have done anything like that to me.
Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Spielman. Now I'm listening to you.
The statement's completely false.
Listen to me. Let's get to the car on the 29th of December.
Okay, cool. We were in the car.
Look at me. Don't look over there. You're in the car.
We are in the car. We do have a conflicting argument about something. Okay, marijuana. I do what I do when my time away from you.
Let's go slowly. You're in the car and you have an argument. You have an argument about what?
I really cannot even remember. Honestly, don't remember.
You just told me it was about marijuana.
If it was about marijuana, I'm saying I'm not denying that, because I do smoke marijuana on my pastime from time to time.
So that if Andrew says that the argument was about stopping to buy marijuana, that would be accurate.
It could have been, but it couldn't have been.
Well, if you don't remember, sir, then I have to credit Andrew's account of the evening of the 29th, because that would seem to be something that you would remember. Where do you live?
Sacramento.
And how far did you have to walk home?
I didn't walk home. See, that's where the story changes. He ended up giving me a ride home.
Did you ultimately give him a ride home?
No, I did not give him a ride home, Your Honor.
Okay. Did he threaten to leave you stranded?
Yes, he did, but it was raining pretty bad outside, so I kind of negotiated my way to get a ride home.
What do you mean you kind of negotiated?
Well, I said it's kind of raining out and I don't have a coat, and it would keep kind of messed up. I had to walk home.
Family for a very long time. How old are you now?
21 years old.
Currently on probation?
Juvenile, almost off. I'm going National Guard.
So the answer is yes, you're currently on probation.
Mm-hmm.
How long have you been on probation?
Since I was like 17.
Keep going.
Okay. Are we still on the 29th or are we going the 30th?
No, I'm past the 29th. I credit Mr. Geraldson's account of what happened on the 29th,
Okay.
sir. I believe he told me the truth. I believe you had an argument starting with Randy, ending up with Andrew about your desire to stop at the person who supplies you with marijuana to get some marijuana, and they didn't
couldn't
want to
have been
do
anything,
it.
though.
I'm speaking. And they didn't want to do it, and you became aggressive, and that's what the argument was about. So since you don't remember something that I probably would remember, but something that clearly you don't remember.
It was a year ago.
Well, I would remember, sir, a falling out that I had with a child.
He wasn't a very good friend. He always
Why don't you
bickered.
let me finish my statement, sir? Listen to the statement that I'm going to say to you. If you tell the truth, you don't have to have a good memory. Do you know what that means, Mr. Spielman?
Honestly, I do.
Tell me what it means.
It means if I know what happened, I don't have to remember. Look for the answer.
Right. That's what it means. So you're telling me it was over a year ago?
Over a year ago.
I'm speaking. And therefore you can't quite remember everything that happened that evening. Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
So if you don't remember what happened on the evening of the 29th, which clearly, you know, you're in a car with people, there's a big argument, it's raining very badly, you have to negotiate your way back to the car in order to get a ride home. These are all little smatterings of things that you remember, right? Little smatterings of things that you remember.
Yeah.
You don't remember all of it, but you remember little pieces of it.
Most of it.
You remember most of it.
Yes.
So the argument was about marijuana.
Yes, it was. I feel
Perfect.
so.
Now that your memory has been refreshed, why don't you tell me about the 30th?
The 30th?
Look at me.
The 30th? Well, my mom can vouch that I was with her.
I don't ask your mom to vouch for anything, sir. I'm
Okay.
asking you.
On the 30th, I was at my residence from 6 o'clock in the night, and I fell asleep on my couch with my entire family with a movie night. The night before New Year's Eve, my mom volunteers at a local social club she's involved in on New Year's Eve, so we always are together on most holidays and that night usually.
Well, just a minute. I don't understand something. Does your mother volunteer her time?
She
I'm speaking!
Well, you were.
Does your mother volunteer her time at a social club, sir, so that she's not home on the 30th, so the rest of your family gets together? Is that what you're just telling me?
No, the night before we all stay together because we're going to be separated on New Year's Eve.
So is what you're telling me, sir, that you were together with your mother and the rest of your family?
Yes, I am.
And if I were to ask you, you would tell me that your son was home with you?
Yes, ma'am.
That would be unfortunate. That would be unfortunate.
I'm sorry.
I have a couple of questions for you. What does he do for a living?
He's going to the National Guard. He's been working.
So the answer is he doesn't do anything.
He's not working currently, no.
And he's not going to school?
No.
And how long have you permitted that circumstance?
He's only not worked a few months. He's going...
A few months is a very long time, filled in on probation. What did he do before a couple of months ago? Who did he work for?
A company called Prologics.
What kind of work did he do?
Warehouse work.
And why did he leave that job?
They merged with another company and downsized.
So he got fired?
Laid off.
How many
Taxpayer.
children? Did I ask you a question?
No, you didn't, but it's just making me sound worse than I am, you know? Be fair, too.
I don't mind being fair, sir, when people tell me the truth.
I'm honestly telling you the truth.
Oh, no, you're not. The sweat on your brow tells me you're not.
I'm on TV.
Did you see sweat there? Look. You see sweat there?
No.
There. Look at your mother. Is she sweating? You know why she's not sweating? Because I didn't ask her what happened on the 30th. That's why she's not sweating. If I asked her what happened on the 30th, I guarantee you she'd be, when I got finished with her, she'd be sweating. How much were the tires?
Our tires were popped, too.
I'm not asking you a question.
I have the invoice here.
Can I see it, please?
Excuse me, Judge.
Yes.
May I submit my receipt for towing?
Absolutely. I'd like to see it, please. So between the towing and the tires, you have $394. Is that right?
Roughly, yes.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $394. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Thank you. You're lucky your probation wasn't violated.
24-year-old Nicole Johnson is suing her neighbor, 23-year-old Sally Jones, for the cost to fix her car. Nicole claims Sally's son, 5-year-old Darian, scratched her paint job with rocks.
Miss Johnson, your complaint is that Miss Jones's son, that would be this little tyke over here, vandalized your car with some sort of an implement. You want her to pay for the damage. Miss Jones says, well, she's not sure if her son did it, and if he did it, he had an accomplice of similar age, and why aren't you suing the accomplice too? That's your defense.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, Ms. Jones, let me ask you this question. If you believe that your son was responsible for part of the damage, you would acknowledge that and would be prepared to pay for part of the damage. Would that be a fair statement?
Yes, ma'am.
What proof do you have that Miss Jones's son, because you didn't see it, vandalized your car?
I have a witness who says she saw him do it.
Okay. When did this happen?
July 11th at approximately 7:30, 8 a.m.
And the witness that you had would be this little girl?
Mm-hmm.
And she's 5?
Yes.
Whose child is she?
One of our other neighbors. Her name's Angela Twyman.
And what's her name?
Michaela.
Michaela, would you like to come up and talk to me?
Hey. Okay. You all right? Okay.
Hi, Michaela. Do you know who I am? You don't know? Do you know why you're here? And you don't know why you're here. Who did you come with today? Oh, I see this is going to be interesting. Do you know this little boy? Is he a friend of yours? Do you know Miss Jones? Is she a neighbor of yours? Can you talk? Can you tell me your full name? Let me hear.
Michaela.
And what's your last name, Michaela?
Michaela and Timon.
Do you want to talk to me about what happened with Miss Johnson's car? You want to tell me what happened? Okay, tell me what happened.
He spit on the car.
He spit on the car? Did you see him do that? Did you see him do anything else to the car, Michaela? What else did you see him do?
He scratched it.
What did he scratch it with?
A rock.
Did you see him with the rock in his hand? Did you have a rock in your hand? Was anybody else with him when he had the rock in his hand?
No.
But you're sure you saw him scratch the car with a rock? After you saw him scratch the car, Michaela, did you go and tell anybody? Who did you tell?
His parents.
His parents? Oh, did you tell them right away? Okay. You can go and sit down now. Thank you. Michaela came and told you that about that?
No, ma'am.
She never came and told you about it?
No, ma'am.
Did she tell you?
I called. I assume that from the way the marks are, they're huge, just circles, scribbles, they're all at very low positions. I assumed it was a child, and I assumed that if I asked enough children, one of them would tell on the other. So I called her parents and I said, you know, later on today when the kids are home, please ask them if they saw anyone playing around Miss Nikki's car. And in the background, I could hear her say, I did, I saw Darian. And her mom said, will you do me a favor? Will you go outside and on Mommy's car, will you touch the spots that you saw him touching on Miss Nikki's car? And she said, okay, she's touching the hood, the driver's side door, and the passenger door on the same side as the driver's side. And she said, is that right? And I said, yeah, that's exactly where the damage is.
Tell me your name.
Darian.
Darian, I want you to come up here and sit up here and talk to me. Trouble, a handful.
Yes, thank you. I do know that.
A handful.
Okay. Tell the judge, okay?
Me and Michaela did it.
You and Michaela both did it? Well, tell me how that happened, Darian.
Me and Michaela had rocks.
Well, how many rocks did you have in your hand?
1.
And where did you get the rock from?
Off the ground.
And what about Michaela? Did she have a rock too?
Yeah.
So why did you decide to scratch Miss Johnson's car?
I don't know.
Well, does your mom have a car?
Yeah, gray.
Hmm?
Gray.
She has a gray car. Darian, if you saw children scratching your mother's car, would you be angry with them? Because that's not the right thing to do, right? And your mommy would be very upset that somebody scratched her car, wouldn't she? She would be sad. Are you ever going to do that again? Because you know you can get into trouble for doing that to other people's property, right? How many marks did you make on the car? And how many marks did Michaela make on the car? So you made more marks than Michaela. Did Michaela make bigger marks than you or littler marks than you? She made smaller marks than you. Show me with your hands how big were the marks that you made on the car. Big ones. And she made little ones. Is that right? She made little ones, and show me your size. The ones you made were bigger ones. Now, when your mom asked you about Miss Johnson's car, did you tell her the truth right away?
My dad.
You told your dad the truth right away? And what did you tell him?
I scratched it.
And when did you tell your mom and your dad that Michaela was there too?
I didn't tell them. I only told my dad.
When did you tell your dad that Michaela was there too? Did you tell him right away, or did you tell him later?
Right away.
Go and step down. I have a feeling he did a little more damage than Michaela did, but my sense is that Michaela was there. Made a few little marks. Miss Johnson, I know that you don't like to believe it, but cute little Michaela scratched your car. Didn't do as much damage as this little guy did. And in his own 5-year-old way, he really told me the truth about that, because I don't know how many scratches were on the car, but clearly he said he did more than she did. And when I asked him, you saw, how big were her scratches? He said, well, they were really teeny. Mine were bigger. Well, one gets the sense that at least he's telling the truth, that there was some co-participation.
And she said that she helped him wipe them off with the spit so that he wouldn't get into trouble. That's what she told her mom.
Oh, okay.
She said, I helped, he spit all over the car, and I helped him rub them off, but they weren't coming off.
Okay. So you get it, that Michaela's folks have to be responsible for some of the damage to the car.
I also have rental car receipts because they said it's going to take 4 to 5 days. So I have $182.04 because they won't do it on the weekend, not all of it, and I work about 45 minutes from home.
Okay.
So I have a rental car receipt for $182.04.
$422, that's half. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $422. Thank you.
Parties are excused.
Smart but a handful, Miss Jones.
Thank you.
Your Honor, this is case number 414 on the calendar in the matter of Ingebretson versus Beaver. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, ma'am.
Mrs. Ingebretson, according to your complaint, you and your husband met the defendant when he was a waiter in a restaurant that you frequented. Is that right?
That is correct, Your Honor.
And over a period of time, you and your husband made loans to him. In what amount?
Amount of $800, Your Honor.
Is that what you're suing for?
I'm suing for $1,500, Your Honor.
Well, that's the first thing I didn't understand. If you loaned him $800, why are you suing him for $1,500?
Punitive damages.
What's punitive damages?
For all the stress that he has caused my husband.
Everybody's got stress. I have stress. Bird has stress. Everybody has stress. So you loaned him $800. Let's stick to the $800. Why did you make loans to him in the amount of $800?
We trusted him as a friend.
Well, how did you become friends? He was serving you pasta. How did you become friends?
We met him through a restaurant in Santa Ana, and we kept going back because we liked the service that he gave us, and we felt, you know, we could trust him, and we wanted to be friends.
So tell me, you made a series, according to you, of 3 loans to him. Correct. Tell me about the loans.
On the first loan, he had called my husband and asked if he can borrow some money. And my husband called me, and we discussed it, and I said, yes, go ahead. And so then I gave my husband my credit card number, and we, you know, wired through a Western Union some money to Mr. Beaver.
So how much did you wire him this time?
$200 plus then the $40 for the wire fee.
Oh, okay. And tell me about the second loan.
Second loan was for $300. He approached us again saying that his car was going to be repossessed because he didn't have the car payment. And so we basically gave him my money and, you know, loaned it to him.
So that's $300. The most interesting one, according to your complaint, is this final loan that you made to him. Tell me about that.
He called us and said, you know, he was being threatened by a loan shark, and his family was being threatened by a loan shark because he had not paid this loan shark back. So we drove all the way down to Newport Beach at a Del Taco, and Mr. Beaver met us there.
Well, how much was this loan to the alleged loan sharks?
$300.
And those are the 3 loans?
That's correct.
Did you ask him back for the money?
We have letters stating we've asked him back, and he said he would pay us when he gets paid, and he has still not paid us back.
Do you have any letter from him acknowledging the loans?
No. We just felt we could trust. We did.
Well, let me see your letters.
The last page is the last demand letter we wrote to him and delivered it, hand-delivered to Stater Brothers.
Okay, Mr. Beaver, let's hear your side of the story.
Your Honor, this fabrication is a wonderful story. It's not exactly at all the way things took place. Joe and Michelle came in as customers. They were turned over to me by another waitress because she didn't feel that she wanted to wait on them. I set about giving them the best service I could. And of course, they enjoyed the service and came back repeatedly. During the course of the year and a half that I waited on them, they began to tip me quite graciously. They exorbitant amounts. Often he would not only tip me on the credit card, he would palm me a check or some money on the side saying, this isn't just for, this is just for you. This isn't for your waiter or for your busboy. This amount is just for you. I would arrive at work, gift baskets of balloons and candy and cakes and cookies would arrive. Some of the things I have here, an electronic organizer, a Swatch Olympic collector's watch. When they went to Vegas, they brought me back gifts. I was always very appreciative of all these gifts, but that's exactly what they were, gifts to me. They were for my service to them. Can I show you this here, Your Honor?
I don't know what it is. Tell me what it is first before you
an umbrella.
An umbrella. I know what an umbrella looks like.
Okay. This arrived in the mail one day. It's, you know, just even at my house, gifts would arrive and things
We're
like
not
that.
talking about a Swatch watch, and we're not talking about a pocket organizer. She's not suing for that. And
Right,
we're not
exactly.
talking about an umbrella. We're talking about 3 separate cash loans, cash amounts of money that were transferred to you, the last one of which was for $300 when they said they met you at a Taco Bell.
Our fabrications. The only time I ever asked to borrow some money from them, I expressed that I did have some car repair to do. I did mention this to them. They both offered to loan it to me, as they had repeatedly said, if you ever need any help with rides or anything like that. In showing friendship, they did say, feel free to ask us. I denied it at the time, said, no, don't worry about it. The next day I did call Mr. Engelbretson up. I said, sir, you know, can I go ahead and borrow $200 from you? And he said, so certainly. I called him back to verify the receiving of the money. That is true. And at that time, he told me that is a gift from Michelle and I. I said, no, I feel that's too much to ask. I want to go ahead and pay you back on this, my next payday. No, that's a gift from Michelle and I. Don't you worry about it. That's his exact words. One evening, they called me up. They said, why don't we take you out for a beer and a game of pool? I expressed that I didn't feel I wanted to go out without my girlfriend, Sam. They went ahead and said, they said, well, go ahead and bring her along, too. Right from the get-go, when she and Mrs. Engelbretson met, she began to give her just looks like you wouldn't believe. She didn't like her. She was rude to her throughout the evening. I left early. We both left early from the event, feeling very uncomfortable. Went home. I called them up, and I expressed to them if they wanted to talk to me next time, I was on my way to some place. Why don't they meet me there? I went and I sat down. I talked with them. I expressed that our friendship had ended because of the way they had treated Sam.
Did that conversation ever take place?
That is incorrect, Your Honor. I didn't like the way she treated Mr. Beaver.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You think she's got a thing for you, Mr. Beaver? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
Yes, Your Honor.
You think that Mr. Engelbretson had a thing for you, too?
And later today,
You didn't feel comfortable, but you let her write it anyway.
Yes, because I told her if she wanted to write it, she had to write it at her own risk.
Did those words ever pass his lips? No, ma'am. Of course not.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Michelle Engelbretson says waiter Steve Beaver took advantage of her and her husband by not repaying loans. Steve says he was their favorite waiter and they always gave him gifts.
Did you meet with him at a restaurant, in a public place, where he said to you, I don't think we should be friends anymore?
No.
I don't think, because I don't like the way you treated Sam.
No.
Yeah, that doesn't sound logical to me. Why would you have to meet
We
somebody
met
to
because
tell
I
him
was
that?
on my way someplace, Your Honor, and I told them, and that was our meeting at the Del Taco that she refers to. I did not ask to borrow any money. That was our meeting there. At that time, also, they once again tried to get me to go to work for them, kept trying to get Sam out of the picture, and being naive.
Mr. Beaver.
Being naive.
Common sense. Well, I'm not naive, sir. Common sense does not suggest to me that one person would have to meet to discuss the fact with really virtual strangers that they don't want to be their friend anymore. That could be either accomplished by not taking their telephone calls or with some conversation on the phone. Not a
Not really, Your
sit-down.
Honor. Not in this case. Not in this case. And we were by this time now. You have to remember, this is a year and a half of her coming in and me waiting on them. At this time, it
Just
had
a minute,
become a
you had-
friendship. I think if you'll even question Sam as to there was something more wanted out of this relationship. Like for the day that she appeared in the parking lot of where I worked and said, you know, I broke up with Joe now. Why don't you call me someday and we can do lunch? Or how she's now employed by the restaurant shop around the corner from where I work. All of a sudden, she works there right now because I'm working right here.
So you think she's got a thing for you, Mr. Beaver? Just a second.
Yeah.
You think she's got a thing for you, Mr. Beaver? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
Yes, Your Honor.
You think that Mr. Engelbretson had a thing for you, too?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know, Your Honor, there's a lot of kinky things that go on in this world. Now that looking back on it, I think there could have been something there.
You talk faster than the last guy I bought a used car from, Mr. Beaver.
Sorry, Your Honor.
You owe her $840. It's my determination that she's telling me the absolute truth, that she and her husband made these loans to you over a period of time, none of which you paid back. I think you're doing a lot of fast talking, Mr. Beaver. I don't know what you needed the money for.
They gave me a CD stereo player. They gave me clothing. They gave me CDs. They gave me gift certificates. Do I pay them back for all this, too? As a waiter, I accept gratuities.
They're not suing you for that, Mr. Beaver. They're not suing you for all the gifts they gave you. Let me tell you why you're whacked up. Because if what you're telling me, sir, is that you thought that there was something strange in all this.
Not to
when
the end,
somebody... Baloney!
Not to the
If
end,
you're a waiter and somebody is palming you checks, in addition to leaving you money on the tip, I could see somebody saying, you gave me really extra special service, here's $5.
No, Your Honor.
Extra.
It wasn't like that at all. They gave me more than $5.
No, just a minute. How much more than $5, Mr. Beaver?
They've given me $100 checks as gratuities.
Okay. So, if somebody is giving you $100 checks and you don't think that they have an ulterior motive involved, right? And then you take that money.
No, I don't. I didn't.
You just think that you are a terrific waiter.
That's right. Can I have my witness speak, Your Honor? Here's somebody who tried to tell me all the way along. Sam told me. She said, something's going on here more than meets the eye.
Mr. Beaver, I'm not interested in Sam. I'm interested in you, sir. I'm interested in you.
Right.
Because if your girlfriend is telling you there's something fishy going on here because they're giving you $100 checks in your hand for serving them a bowl of linguine, then what I'm telling you,
more
sir,
than a bowl of linguine.
Whatever it was, and you said to yourself, listen, they're giving it to me.
No.
What am I supposed to do? I'm just going to give it back? I never heard you say, sir, that you took the checks and returned them, or that you took the cash and returned it, right? You never did that.
I never took gratuities because gratuities are what I work for as a waiter. I don't work for free, and when someone hands me something, tells me thank you for the service tonight, we really enjoyed ourselves. You give us wonderful service. That's my job.
And here's an extra $100.
That's right.
Good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $840. That's all.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I don't want to be near him.
She's lying through her teeth because this is the only way she can get close enough to him. They're sick, both her and her husband are sick. You don't get $100 gift baskets, you don't get stereos, you don't get this and that. He said there was something wrong with me. He thought I was jealous. And I'm jealous of this? Look at her.
All of a sudden, a sandwich shop opens right next door, and she's got a job right there. You know, come on, put two and two together. What are we talking about here? I'm being pursued. The calls on the phone. I'm being harassed. I'm being stalked. I am being
Just because you look that way doesn't mean her sexual appetite isn't what it is.
I'm sorry. It's a free world to work anywhere you want.
And now the next case.
Parties on Mitchell versus Witt. Step forward, please.
22-year-old nursing assistant Tina Mitchell wants her ex-boyfriend, Coy Witt, 26, to pay her medical bills after she crashed on his motorcycle. Coy wants Tina to pay for the damages to the bike.
Miss Mitchell, how old are you?
22.
Do you work?
Yes.
What do you work for?
The Adrian Convalescent Center.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm a CNA.
What is that?
Certified Nurse's Assistant.
So you're a working 22-year-old adult?
Yes.
And how old are you, sir?
I'm 27.
You work?
Yes.
What kind of work do you do?
I do heating and air conditioning.
You were dating or something, had some sort of relationship with him?
Yes.
He has a motorcycle?
Yes.
You got on his motorcycle?
Yes.
Had an accident, right?
Yes.
Was seriously injured?
Yes.
Had a lot of medical bills?
Yes.
You were riding this motorcycle by yourself?
Yes.
You want him to pay your medical bills?
Yes.
You, 27 years old, let her use your motorcycle.
Yes, I did.
She had an accident.
Yes, she did.
You want her to pay for the damage to your motorcycle.
Correct.
No, no, no.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You knew I shouldn't have been on that bike. You knew it. And you let me get on it anyway.
You're a big girl. Like a kid in a candy store that wants it and wants it. You keep on telling them no. Finally,
Well,
here, go for it.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Tina Mitchell wants her ex-boyfriend, Coy Witt, to pay the medical expenses after she crashed his motorcycle. Coy wants her to pay for the motorcycle.
Why do you think he should pay your medical bills?
Because he didn't have insurance on his bike at the time that I had the wreck.
Let us assume we lived in a kinder, gentler time and there was no insurance. Let's talk a little bit here about personal responsibility. Did he force you to get on this motorcycle?
No, ma'am.
Tell me how it came about that you got on the motorcycle.
On our first date, he came to pick me up on his motorcycle, and I made it known to him that, I've always enjoyed bikes. And I told him that, someday I'd like to learn to ride. And he told me that he would be more than glad to help me. And he did a couple times, show me basically what to do. Never really took me out on it, just showed me what to do. On June 2nd, he let me take it out by myself.
What do you mean he let you?
Well, I asked him if I could take his bike, and he said yes.
You, 22 years old, who takes care of the sick and elderly, right, asked him if you could take out his motorcycle by yourself.
Yes.
Continue.
I was out for about 15, 20 minutes, and I was heading back to his home. I was at a four-way stop sign, and somebody started to take off at the same time as I did. I didn't know what to do. I was panicking, and I took off too quickly, hoping to get across the intersection before the other car did. And I don't know if I jumped the bike or what exactly happened. All I know is that the bike fell to the left, and I went to the right. I caught my leg on the kickstand peg underneath the neutral switch, and it shredded my leg open. And I was taken to the hospital from there, where he had told the doctors there and signed the insurance forms, signed everything, claiming responsibility.
Somebody had to claim responsibility, otherwise they wouldn't have taken care of you, right? Right?
Right.
I didn't sign anything, Your Honor.
Your signature is on file on the papers from the doctor.
Well, can I see that?
Right there, it tells that his signature is on file.
Can I see it, please?
I'd like to see them too, Your Honor, to see if that's my signature, if so.
Let me see. Let me just see. Could you? It says it's typed in, signature on file.
Right, that was from...
It's typed in. Hey, get out of here. Now, Mr. Witt.
Yes.
Why don't you tell me why you think she should pay for the damage to the bicycle that you let her ride?
Well, I let her ride the bike, and basically I told her if she wanted to ride it, she had to ride it at her own risk.
No, just a minute. Are you trying to tell me, sir, that you said to this gal that you were dating, if you ride this bike, you are riding it at your own risk?
Yes, I did.
Look over here.
Yes, I did.
Not in this life.
Well,
Not in this life. Now, you gave her a couple of lessons on this bike.
Yes, I did.
Mm-hmm. Did you feel perfectly comfortable with her riding it?
No, I still didn't feel
good. You didn't feel comfortable.
But
just a minute. You didn't feel comfortable with her riding the bike, but you let her ride it anyway.
Yes, because I told her if she wanted to ride it, she had to ride it at her own risk.
Did those words ever pass his lips?
No, ma'am.
Of course not.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
All right, Miss Mitchell, you rode the bike. That's a very foolish thing to do unless you're really thoroughly acquainted with this big thing. I understand it's a big bike, according to both your papers, you know, with no metal around you. Whenever I drive, I like to drive in something with a lot of metal around me. The bigger, the better. So, you were foolish. Cost you $3,000. You, sir, your motorcycle was damaged in the amount, according to you, of $4,800?
Yes, ma'am.
Next time, you don't let somebody ride your bike that you're not particularly comfortable with. Your petition is dismissed. Your
But,
counterclaim is
yeah,
dismissed. That's it, sir.
Well, she said she was going to pay for the damages.
Well, I want to
whenever
tell you something. Mr. Witt, if you are in possession of a vehicle like a motorcycle, which is really a dangerous instrument in the hands of somebody that doesn't know how to use it properly, and you allow them to use it, you assume the risk that if they hurt themselves or damage your bike, you may be responsible. In this case, I find that she was an adult and she assumed the risk of her own injuries.
It's fine.
Right? But you, sir, are assuming the $4,800 loss or damage to your bicycle because you both acted like idiots. That's all.
Yeah.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I have to deal with this for the rest of my life because of him. Because he wasn't man enough to tell me, no, Teeny, you can't go out on that bike. It's too big for you. I had a helmet on, yes.
Because I made her put it on.
Made me?
Yeah, I did.
ain't that stupid.
Obviously, you got on the bike at your own risk to ride it.
It's him being a pathetic mama's boy. I'm glad that I don't ever have to see you again.
You're suing the defendant because you allege that he owes you money for the year that his daughter lived with you.
That's correct.
Now, this was sort of an interesting story. You took her into your home without his permission. Is that correct?
Yes.
Well, why don't you tell me how that came about?
She wanted to finish her last year of high school down here to play basketball.
Where is down here?
She was at Paramount at the time, but I live in Dominguez District. She ran away before her father moved to Victorville with her friend. Her father went over there, caused a big scene, had the police involved.
Because his daughter ran away?
Yes. Rashika called her mother in Arkansas and had...
Sir, you and your daughter's mother are divorced, is that right?
We were divorced, ma'am. That's right.
And your daughter was living with you?
She let me keep her for the meantime. She wants to go down.
She was, in fact, at the time that we're talking about, living with you when she ran away.
Yes, ma'am.
Which is the daughter? That's you.
Rashika.
Now, how did you get involved with her?
Through basketball. I met Rashika when she was playing basketball with my daughter. I was the team mother for Paramount's basketball team. They didn't have a lot of support, and I went to all the girls' games. I took the
So that's how you got involved with her?
Yes.
So now we're up to a point where she ran away from her father's house.
Yes.
And somehow contacted you.
Yes.
And you said you can come and live with me.
I talked to her mother in Arkansas.
You didn't speak to her father?
No.
You called her mother?
Rashika called her mother.
Rashika called her mother, with whom she wasn't living at the time?
No.
And her mother gave you permission for her to live in your house?
I have the notarized. She came the next day. I have the authorization.
Okay. And she signed papers, her mother signed papers for her to live in your house?
Yes, and then we went to court, and the court gave me temporary guardianship.
Okay. With her mother's permission?
Yes.
But according to your papers, not with her father's permission?
No.
Father was not happy about this. Is that right, sir?
That's true. He said he didn't know where she was.
So how long did she stay with you?
From June the 17th, 1996 until June the 22nd, 1997.
Now, according to your papers, she played you like a violin.
Yes, she did.
You didn't know that at the time.
No. I looked at that beautiful face, Your Honor, and I believed everything she told me.
Now, you believed everything, all the bad things she told you about her father, that he didn't understand her, that he was verbally abusive to her. You believed all that?
When I first met Rashika, I could see that she was unhappy. She was crying a lot. I could tell she was an unhappy child.
So, Ms. Fuller, my question to you is, you interfered with a family situation. Because when she finally left your home,
yes,
she went back to her father. right?
Yes, after she graduated from high school, she went to college.
But she went back to her father.
Yes, he gave her a car and offered her money, and she left.
Whatever, she went back to her father.
Yes.
So this was a teenager in rebellion. She left her mother's house, right, to go to live with her father? Is that right, sir?
Yes, ma'am. That's true.
How long have you been divorced from her mother?
Oh, about 15 years.
And how long had she lived with her mother?
14.
And how many years did she live with you?
About a year and a half until she met Miss Fuller.
Yes.
Rashika's mom told me that she was financially unable to care for Rashika and her sister Renisha. That's when she sent them out here. This is what her mom said.
Doesn't sound right to me. You don't send two children to their father after they've been living with you for 15 years or for 14 years because you're financially unable to take care of them.
She said she had had an accident and was hurt and wasn't able to take care
Well,
of them.
when you met her, when she came to sign the guardianship papers,
yes,
did she appear to be injured to you?
Maybe.
What does maybe mean?
She seemed to, like she had a head injury, maybe.
She didn't have a head injury that prevented her from signing these guardianship papers.
No.
Or from understanding that she was turning over legal custody to you of her daughter.
She told me she was unable to care for her.
Okay.
Her father was abusive.
All right. I assume you have at least one teenage daughter?
Yes.
Just so you know that teenage daughters can be difficult sometimes? Or yours aren't difficult?
My youngest one wasn't.
And what about the older one?
Well, they did good. All my children graduated from high school.
I didn't
never really had any problems with them.
Well, then you should be written up in Guinness Book of Records because most
I was
women,
very lucky.
most mothers who have teenage daughters know that they're a little difficult at times.
I was very lucky.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
At the time, I felt he didn't understand, but now that I see it, and I'm, in college, and I see my sister going through, getting disciplined, I understand she needs it.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Doris Fuller wants Ray Lewanig to pay her for taking care of his daughter, Roshika. Ray says she took his daughter without his permission.
Now, I want to know why you think that this man ought to pay you anything.
Well, for child support, when the courts gave me temporary custody of Rashika, the judge sent us, Ray and Rashika and I, to go talk. We went to the IHOP in Compton. He offered me $400 a month child support. I said that was fine. Rashika and her dad left. When she came back, I asked her for the check. She was hesitant to give it to me.
What month was this?
In May.
That was a month before she left?
Yes.
Well, why are you suing for $4,200 if I believe you, that you say he agreed to pay you $400 a month, and then his daughter went back to him within a month? Why should I give you $4,200?
I had her for a year.
Right.
And when she came to play basketball...
I'm not interested in anything else. What I'm really concerned about is you took this child without her father's permission. You discussed the matter with her mother, not her father. Her mother gave you guardianship. You made no attempt, according to what you've told me, to get some child support from her mother, who was the one...
She sent me $75.
She sent you $75. You're suing him for almost $5,000. She was the one who gave you permission to take her daughter without his consent. He didn't even know where she was. Is that right, sir?
That's very true, ma'am.
Were you collecting welfare for her?
No.
Who was covering her medical insurance?
Her father paid her medical insurance. The one time I took her to the doctor, they gave me a $5 payment, and I paid that.
So she wasn't on anybody's welfare budget?
No.
Okay, sir. How much money did you give her in total to take care of your daughter after you knew where she was?
Well, I tried to negotiate with her because I saw my daughter in good, condition.
When was that? What month was that?
In May, right after the court hearing. We went to IHOP, and I offered, look, I can only give you $200 a month in front of her. Because as far as I know, she was with her mom.
You mean before that you thought she had been with her mother?
Uh-huh.
And then you went to court.
I went to court.
This was in May of '97.
Yes, ma'am, May of '97.
And in May of '97, you went to IHOP and had this discussion about support. And how much money did you give her in May?
I didn't give her anything. I offered her $200. And
Right.
I thought she agreed, so I went to the bank with her, gave her the $200.
Did you give?
I explained it to her. I cannot afford $400 because I just moved out. I got 2 young kids now of my own from my new marriage. And she's not in my budget because I know she's gone.
Okay.
Gone back to her mom.
Step up here. You're the daughter.
Yes, ma'am.
Why did you go back to your father's house?
After we had in court, we all went out to breakfast and we cried. Sorry.
It's okay. You were ready to go home?
Yeah. I had seen my little sister and my little brother, and and my father, we talked things out, and I wanted a relationship with him again.
You think that part of the problems that you were having with your dad that caused you to leave were at least in part your fault?
When I was with my mom, I never got disciplined. So when he disciplined me, I rebelled.
When you say he disciplined you?
Grounded me.
Grounded you?
Took my car away.
And your mom never did those things?
No.
That wasn't wrong of him to do, right?
No. Well, at the time, I felt...
You thought it was?
He was just all against me, and he didn't understand, you know, and... But now that I see it, and I'm, you know, in college, and I see my sister going through, getting disciplined, I understand she needs it.
Miss Fuller, let me tell you what you did, madam. You interfered in a family situation. You had no business interfering with this family situation. Took it upon yourself to take this man's daughter, who was living with him, and he seems like a perfectly reasonable, responsible man, and according to his daughter, did absolutely nothing but discipline him in reasonable ways. Grounded her, took away her car, and she wasn't used to it because her mother never did any of those things. Now, the fact that she, to you, was upset and crying and seemed unhappy with her father, that's not a reason for you to interfere in a family situation. I mean, if you took some time and if you let the situation take some time, there is a possibility that father and daughter could have worked things out. But instead, you hopped in there.
Your Honor?
Yes.
When Rashika called me, she told me her father did not have custody of her. Her mother had custody of her.
Miss Fuller, you knew she was living with her father?
Yes. We went to go get Rashika. Her mother and I went to go get Rashika. We took the Southgate police with us because Rashika and her mother said they were afraid for us to go there by themselves because he's a violent man and he had a lot of guns in the home.
Well, listen to me.
We took the Southgate police with us.
Listen to me. That was all a lot of baloney. She's back with her father. So whatever stories you got from either Rashika or her mother were not true, because if they were, and if she was genuinely fearful of her father because he has a violent temper and because he has guns in the house, she would not be living with him now.
Judge Judy is ready to rule. And later today...
So you gotta learn to get your story straight. Before you gave me some baloney story about you said, yes, he was gonna pay her back, but then your check was all messed up and you couldn't pay her back. Come on, get it together.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Doris Fuller wants Ray Lewanig to pay her for taking care of his daughter, Roshika. Ray says she took his daughter without his permission.
You butted in, and if you butted in, you gotta pay. So your lawsuit against this man is dismissed. And I suggest to you that before you take in any other teenagers and take them away from their custodial parents, and he was at that time the custodial parents, you better make darn sure that there is a good and valid reason. And that sometimes means leaving it up to professionals and stepping back. You're a biological stranger from this family. He didn't give his consent. He had absolutely no reason to have his child removed from his custody, other than the fact that, according to her, and I believe her, he disciplined her by grounding her when she did something wrong and by taking her car away. He's her father. He has an absolute right to do that. So, your lawsuit against him is dismissed. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She took it upon herself. I told her again and again, this is blood related. You're nobody.
You hadn't seen her
I'm
for
the father.
11 months, Ray.
Of course I never saw her because you
didn't-
hid her from me.
No, I didn't.
And now, the next case.
Parties on Sanders versus Murray. Step forward, please.
23-year-old Heather Sanders wants her former good friend, 25-year-old Jennifer Murray, to pay her back for the repairs on her car.
You two were good friends?
Yes.
How long had you been friends?
For about 2 years, 2.5 years.
And Miss Murray, you had an accident with your car?
Yes.
What kind of an accident did you have?
A repair problem. The car broke down and it needed some repairs.
So you asked the plaintiff if she would put it on her credit card?
Well, actually, I told her that the car broke down, and she said that she could help me out, and then I agreed.
Doesn't sound 100% logical, but let's take it from there. So she put it on her credit card, the repairs,
Yes.
$627, something like that?
About, $646.
And what was the arrangement as far as paying back this money?
The arrangement was that she was going to pay me half within 2 weeks after the day that it was charged, and then the balance within another 2 weeks, so all together within a month.
What happened?
I never got any of the money back. Well, I got $100. What happened was a month went by, and she said, well, I have over half of the money, and I'll give you over the half on Wednesday, October the 1st. So I went to her house that day to pick up the money, and she gave me a $100 bill, and she said, well, I don't have any more of the money, and I will pay you back when I can. Stop calling me, stop bugging me. And basically, that was it.
Go ahead.
That's pretty much what happened. She said that I told her that I would pay her back all the money, and I made arrangements to pay her back a couple of weeks when I got paid. But something happened with my check where I didn't get paid right away like I was supposed to, and I told her that they messed my money up or something. And she said that didn't matter. She wanted her money right then and there. I said, well, my job messed up my check. I don't have it, so I'm going to have to wait another 2 weeks until I get paid.
So why didn't you give it to her after another 2 weeks?
That's when I gave her the $100. I gave her what I could. I didn't have the full amount right away.
Well, what was your arrangement with her?
To originally pay her back after a couple of weeks, but when...
That's not what you said in your answer. Did you forget what you wrote in your answer?
No, she said pay her back whatever I can, but whatever I can, just as long as I pay her back the money.
You know, you keep changing your story, Miss Murray. But bottom line is, you owe her the rest of the money. Total bill was what? $676.14. Is that the bill?
Yes.
Is that the bill?
Yes.
All right.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
I'm just going to remind you, Miss Murray, that you swore in your answer that the agreement was that you put it on the credit card and you would repay back small amounts, small payments, just as long as the statement was covered for the month. And that the reason you didn't pay her back all the money is because then she said she wanted it all back at one time. So you got to learn to get your story straight.
That is what happened.
Well,
That's
you
the
didn't tell
very-
me that before. Before you gave me some baloney story about you said, yes, he was going to pay her back, but then your check was all messed up and you couldn't pay her back. Come on, get it together. Okay. Judgment in this case for the plaintiff in the amount of $576.14. That's all.
Finders are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
She started off nice, and then she got irate, and then she started banging on my front door, and then she started making threatening comments and stuff, and she turned to a different person. She has an evil side to her, like she'll snap, like, I don't know, just weird stuff. Not friendship stuff.
There was no real friendship to begin with. If money can come through, money can come between it.
Order. All rise. Thank you. Judge, this is number 388 on the calendar in the matter of Harkness versus Cutler. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, sir. Go seat, please.
Former friends.
Correct.
Fight over money.
Not correct.
Unfortunately.
Well, that's why we're here, sir, because this is
Correct.
a dispute over money.
Correct.
According to you, Mr. Harkness, you lent Mr. Cutler $3,000.
Yes, that's correct.
Mr. Cutler says it was a gift.
Correct.
So why don't you tell me, sir, how did this loan come about?
Well, in the beginning of 1995, Stephen was living in a house. He was renting a room. He couldn't live at home. His father, they kicked him out of the house, and he couldn't live at home. He had nowhere else to go, and he was also getting kicked out of this new apartment that he had gone into. And he came to me and said, you know, John, can you give me $5,000? I said, Stephen, you know, $5,000 is a lot of money. You know what I mean? I really can't give you $5,000. I said, if
What
you...
kind of work do you do that you had
Well,
thousands of dollars?
unfortunately, when I was younger, I had cancer, and I had gotten a settlement for it. And so when I
How
was...
did you get a settlement for having cancer?
Well, because I was misdiagnosed for not having it. And then I did have it, so it was a big, drawn-out thing. When I was 19, I got a settlement and put it away and invested it for my children.
How much did you get?
It was about $500,000. So
And Mr. Cutler, you knew that he was getting a settlement?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
So Stephen came to me, like I said, asked me if I can give him $5,000. He didn't say lend. And I said, Stephen, I can't give you $5,000. I can let you borrow $3,000. He said, oh, come on, you can give me $5,000. You got the money. I said, Stephen, it's not about if I have the money. I can't afford it. You know, I was going to school. I put myself through college. And that was even before I got the settlement. So I've been working hard my whole life to save my own money. He said, come on, please, 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 you know. I said, all right, listen, I can let you borrow $3,000, but you got to pay me back. He said, well, I can't pay you back right away. I said, Stephen, I know you don't have money. If it takes you a year to pay me back, just pay me, you know, in drips and drabs, whatever you can, you know. So I gave him the money. He was so happy, you know. He said, thank you. My witness was present.
What did you write him a check?
I wrote him a check. And when I went to write him the check out, he said, don't write the check out to me, write it out to my father, because I don't have enough money in my account to cover it. Well, I said, that, you know, seems pretty sensible. He was asking me for the money, so obviously he didn't have money to cover it. And he said, I need the money right away because I have to put it down on a new apartment. So I said, no problem. I wrote the check out to his father so his father could cash it. After I gave him the money, I saw him less and less over the next 6 months. Come that October, I went back to college to get my bachelor's degree. So, and then I saw Stephen less even more. So I called Stephen up. Hey, Steve, I haven't talked to you in so long. How you been? What's going on? This and that. We talked like old buddies, like nothing had ever happened. Soon as I mentioned the money. What money? I said, Stephen, come on. You know, we grew up together. What do you mean, what money? You know? He said, you said that was a gift. I said, Stephen, come on. Who's going to give somebody $3,000? I was like, I haven't even given anybody in my own family $3,000, let alone a good friend. I said, I can let you, I said, I let you borrow it. We said, that's not what you told me, and hung up the phone.
Okay, stop. Mr. Cutler, did you need money?
No, I did not, Your Honor.
You were working in 1995?
Yes, I was.
What kind of work were you doing?
Working in a soda distribution company.
Doing what?
Forklift work and just distribution, loading trucks up.
Okay. Were you evicted from residences at that time?
No, I wasn't.
Your Honor,
Well, tell me.
Your Honor, that's a lie.
Just a second. We let you speak. Get back in a second. You don't deny that he transferred, I'm not going to say gave, loaned, or whatever, he transferred $3,000 to you for your benefit?
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
Now, you tell me how that came about, sir.
We were longtime friends. We grew up together in the same neighborhood. And I knew John was getting a settlement, and he said to me, he said, Steve, he said, if I ever get a large settlement, he says, I'm going to take care of you and George Altz because you guys been my best friends for so many years. Now, that's what he said to me. He said, you guys are going to get $5,000 each and a trip to Europe, he said to me. He said, I'm going to take you to Europe on me. That's what he told me.
I'm going to take you to Europe.
To Europe, yes, on him.
Just
That we were going to go backpacking, hiking.
So did you ever do that?
No, we didn't. No, we
Okay.
didn't.
So tell me about the $3,000.
So as time went on, we were in the basement and together, and he said, Steve, he said, remember when I told you I was going to give you $5,000? I said, yes. He said, well, I can't afford to give you $5,000. He said, I spent a lot of money. He said, but I could afford to give you $3,000.
You mean, and that just came out of the blue?
Yes.
Just to hanging out in the basement?
Yeah, yes.
Did you say to him, what happened to the backpacking that we were going to do, the traveling
No,
we were going to do?
I never brought up Europe. I wasn't going to be greedy. I figured whatever, you know, he was going to give me, he was going to give me.
So it just came out of the blue?
To be honest with you, it's been a few years. I don't remember the exact conversation, how it was brought up.
I do.
To be honest with you.
Go ahead.
It never took place in my basement.
Yes, it did.
When he was living in the house and he was getting kicked out, that's when the money transpired, actually. Mr. Alt was present.
He was present?
Step up here, sir.
Yes, he was.
Your Honor,
Step up here,
he's
sir.
lying, Your Honor.
Just a second. That's my strong suit, sir, to tell who's lying. What makes sense? Common sense. Yes.
How you doing?
Your name is... I'm
George
doing
Altz.
fine. How are you doing?
Good.
Pleased to hear that. Your name is?
George Altz. Basically, me and Steve talked about getting a loan from John. Actually, it wasn't a loan. We wanted to receive $5,000. Stephen ended up asking him. I just kind of stayed off to the side. A short time after, Steve came back and said, he's not going to loan us $5,000. He'll let us borrow $3,000.
Why were you looking to borrow money?
Because I was in debt at the time, and I had a lot of bills. So did Stephen. So Stephen said, you know, I asked him, he would loan me $3,000. I said, I don't want a loan. If he's going to give me $3,000, I'll take the $3,000. I don't want another loan to get out of debt, to get back in debt with a friend. So I said, it's not even worth it.
Why would you think that your friend, Mr. Harkness, would give you money?
Like, we grew up together. I would. You got to understand our circumstances. You know, we've been through a lot since little kids. I thought maybe we can get some money from him
Can I add something,
as a
Your Honor?
friend.
Sure, step up here. Who are you?
My name's Joseph Smeltzer. I know all three of these men here for well over 15 years. When John received his lawsuit, for years, well before he received it, Steve and George had been his best friend, lifelong best friends. John had bragged countless times, and specifically, that he was going to take care of them financially and give them a gift.
That's a lie, Your Honor.
Just a second. Were you present, sir, when you heard any discussion about $5,000 and a trip
Yes,
to
I
Europe?
was, many times. He made a lot of promises to a lot of people, not just Steve and George. I mean, he bragged that he was going to take care of a lot of people in many different ways. And
Just a minute. A lot of people do that.
Yes, they do.
A lot of
Absolutely,
people
they
do that.
But you got to consider the fact when best friends of this nature, they're considered like family. They grew up all their lives. It's more like family. It's like if I came into $1 million tomorrow, I'd have no problem giving Steve $5,000.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He's a bitter man because I couldn't be friends with him no more because he had a swelled head and I couldn't deal with him no more.
And later today,
You're going to give a box of ashes to your children and say, here, hold your grandmother?
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. John Harkness wants his former best friend, Stephen Cutler, to give him back the $3,000 he loaned him. Stephen claims the money was a gift.
What you, Mr. Cutler, is suing for is on a contract. You say that there was a contract, and your contract with him was that he was going to give you a gift, right?
Correct.
A contract requires, in the law, something called consideration. There has to be something that you give to him and something that he gives to you in order for it to be enforceable. Otherwise, it's just puffing. I'm going to take care of all of my friends. Now, there's a certain amount of common sense that suggests to me that you are having certain problems in 1995.
Your
That
Honor,
has a ring of truth to it, sir.
Your Honor, $3,000 wasn't going to make any difference in my life at that time.
He was getting kicked out of his
whatsoever.
Just a second.
Whatsoever, Your Honor.
Just a second. Then why, Mr. Cutler, would you think, sir, that after several years, because this transaction took place several years ago, that Mr. Harkness would at this point sue you for the $3,000?
Because he's a bitter man, Your Honor.
Just a second.
Can I,
why do you think he's a bitter man?
He's a bitter man because I was friends with him for a year after he gave me the $3,000. After that, I couldn't be friends with him no more because he had a swelled head and I couldn't deal with him no more. And a lot of people the same way. So
don't tell me about a lot of other people. What
two
about
years
you?
later, he calls me up on the phone and says, Steve, he says, the money that I gave you, I want it back. I said, John, you gave it to me as a gift. He said, doesn't matter. We don't speak no more. He says, I want the money back.
Never
I said, well, you're not going to receive the money. You gave it to me as a gift.
Nope.
And he said, well, I'll see you in court. And I said, I'll see you in court then.
Just a second. I'm going to resolve this in a minute. Did he make the check payable to your father?
Yes, he did. He told me, Your Honor, the reason why he made it out to my father was he told me, he goes, I don't want you spending it all in one place. He goes, I feel if your father is involved with it, he goes, your father will look out for the money better than you will. And that's why he wrote my check to my father.
Oh, no, no. You see, a very important thing for you to remember, sir, is that common sense is what's supposed to prevail in a court. If he were giving you money outright, he would have given you the check made out to you. And I'm going to tell you why. Because if you didn't need the money immediately, you could have opened up a bank account, put that check in the bank account, and waited for the check to clear. The fact that he made the check out to your father suggests to me that you needed the money immediately.
Yes.
And thank you for agreeing with me.
Sorry.
I also think, Mr. Cutler, that of all of his friends, I haven't heard of anybody else that just took money from him. Right? You haven't told me about anybody else that just took money.
I'm the only one here, Your Honor. I mean,
there were other people.
There were other people.
No, there wasn't.
I could have brought many witnesses here, but...
Name one.
Just a second.
Why'd you bring him?
Hey!
Sorry.
Sit down now. Mr. Harkness, I am satisfied based upon primarily the one tangible thing that we know, which is that you both agree on, that you made the check payable to his father, and that suggests to me that there was an immediate need that he had for the funds,
yes,
which
Your Honor.
supports your story that he needed the funds immediately for a new apartment, which is totally different from what he's saying is that you were in the basement of your building making out a check and you said, I'm going to give you some money.
No, never happened.
Well, I know you say it never happened. So I have given you a judgment, sir, in the amount of $3,000, which is the amount of the loan. Thank you.
Your
That's
Honor.
all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
That's right.
Out this way, gentlemen.
This way.
Out the back, go to your right.
A freak in disguise, bro.
See, that's all he can say.
A freak in disguise.
That's all he
Look
can
at you.
say.
Rip off that suit and
That's all he
the
can
white
say.
trash.
White trash with a
Mama's a freak,
with
his
a
dad's a
bachelor's degree.
freak, his whole family's
Bachelor's
freak.
degree. Ask him what degree he has. Ask him how many degrees he has. Nothing. I'm white trash.
And now the next case.
Parties on Gendron versus Gendron. Step forward, please.
42-year-old Suzanne Gendron wants her former sister-in-law, Teresa Gendron, to return the ashes of her mother.
Very strange case. And very old. Your mother died 21 years ago, according to your complaint.
Correct.
How old was she when she died?
She was 54.
And according to your complaint, your former sister-in-law, that's you, has her ashes.
Correct.
And she's had them for 21 years.
Yes.
You want them back?
Yes, Your Honor.
First, what took you 21 years?
I have been asking her since my children were born. We had an agreement that if and when I had children, because I was not married when my mom passed on, if and when I had children, that she would give the ashes to me to watch over my children. And
when did you make this agreement?
This was the year after my mother died, and we had agreed to that. And I began asking her for them when my daughter was born. My daughter, Sarah Louise, she's named after my mom. And I have not been successful in getting them from her since then. And we need her very much.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You don't know what it's like growing up in a house
Well,
full of men
you know, it's
with
not
no
like
woman's
Susan.
touch.
Susan, I'm
No-
sorry. What woman's touch are you going to get from an urn? or an ash.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 42-year-old Suzanne Gendron wants her former sister-in-law, Teresa Gendron, to return the ashes of her mother.
Hello.
How are you?
So?
I never agreed to give her back the ashes when her children were born. My mother-in-law confided in me that when she passed away, she wanted to be cremated, and she wanted her ashes thrown where her father used to dock his boat in Long Branch. I never knew exactly where this was, so I didn't want to just take her and just put her ashes anywhere. So the reason that I still have the ashes is because to this day I don't know exactly where she wanted her ashes thrown. She asked me to do this. I took it seriously, and that's why I still have the ashes. I never agreed to give you back the ashes.
Were you close to your mother before she died?
Yes, I was very close.
And did you hear her say, was she ill before she died?
No.
She was not. So this was, her death was sudden?
Very sudden. She had a heart attack.
When did she tell you that she wanted to be cremated?
She lived in Plainfield, and when she was in Plainfield, we spent a lot of time together. Suzanne didn't live in Plainfield. Suzanne lived in Montreal. And on one of our outings or trips to the shore, she told me that this is what she wanted because that's where she felt most peaceful.
That's right.
Is that right?
Yes, and I have explained to my sister-in-law that I am prepared and I insist that we fulfill my mother's last wish. My Aunt Beth and my brother went last summer together to the exact spot where my mom wants her ashes scattered, and it was always in the agreement that I would have my mother for a short time and then we would all go to that spot. We know exactly where it is.
Great. Well, then this is a very easy lawsuit to resolve.
We want to fulfill my mother's last wish.
And so do you.
And so do I.
Good. And when do you intend to do that?
Well, I was unaware that the aunt and my ex-husband knew or even went to this spot.
Well,
what I want to know is why they didn't include me and bring me with them so that we could have fulfilled my mother-in-law's wishes a year ago.
Absolutely. That's going to happen.
That's going to happen.
That's going to happen. When do you want it to happen is the question.
On her 25th, on the anniversary, the 25th anniversary of her death, which will be in 3 years.
No. Why would you want to wait another 3 years?
Because I don't have very long to live. I've been diagnosed with 2 different terminal illnesses. And I would like, for my children and for myself, I have some very difficult battles to fight. And I need my mother's strength. And I don't think that after 21 years, I don't think that 2 years or 2.5 years is going to hurt my mom that much. I think she'll enjoy being with me, her daughter, and her grandchildren.
Ms. Gendron, what you say is very sad, but you can't give yourself, nobody can predict the moment that an illness that you have, even if it's a terminal one, is going to cause you to leave this earth. And I wouldn't like you to live under that kind of an onus anyway. I mean, that's a terrible thing. Right now, your mother, and you acknowledge that, had a dying wish, and her wish was that she be cremated, which she was, and that she wanted to rest peacefully, having her ashes dispersed in a certain way.
Yes.
So you have to do that.
Yes.
And you have to do that now. It's been all too long delayed.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
What is clear to me is that every person has the right to dictate what happens to them at the time of their death. Your mother did that.
Yes, she
It's
did.
been delayed for 21 years. It should not be delayed at all. I will make an order, and you tell me at what point you're going to be ready to go to New Jersey. That's where she wanted to be scattered. So you tell me when, and I will fix a time frame, a week or a 2-week period.
Spring.
In the spring? Step up here. Yes. April? Good. April.
How about May? May 15th. That's my daughter's birthday. She's named after my mother.
Is that a good day?
That's a good day.
May 15th?
Yes.
Fine. That on or before May 15th, the two of you, together with any of the siblings that want to accompany you, will finally fulfill your mother's last wish. Case is resolved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Thank you.
And on the next Judge Judy.
In my opinion, Mike's sister-in-law feels like a box of ashes is going to take all her guilt and loss away from her, that's going to put something back into her life. I don't live with a box of ashes.
It's not a box
I live with
of ashes. It's my
memories.
mom.
You're going to give a box of ashes to your children and say, here, hold your grandmother?
No, I had a beautiful urn made for Mom. You don't know what it's like growing up in a house
Well,
full of men
you know, it's
with
not
no
like
woman's
Susan.
touch.
Susan, I'm
No.
sorry. What woman's touch are you going to get from an urn or an ash?
Quiet in the courtroom, please. All rise. Judge, number 151 on the calendar in the matter of Fair versus Gonzalez. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, please.
Ms. Fair, the defendant is your former landlord.
Yes.
And you're suing him for several things. First, for wrongful eviction and the cost of your relocating to a new
Yes.
apartment. Second, you are suing him for damage that he allegedly did to your furniture. And what's the third thing you're suing him for?
Harassment.
Oh, harassment. Okay. When did you move into his apartment and how did you find this apartment?
I found an apartment through one of my coworkers that I work with. They went to church together. He told me one of the ministers at his church had an apartment available. The neighborhood I was living in was a very bad neighborhood. So I went and met John, and he said I could move in. I paid him. I moved in. We became friends. After we became friends, he started dropping by all the time, coming by when I have company, coming unannounced, letting people in my house when I'm not at home.
How do you know that?
Because when I got home, one of the witnesses was in my home, and he admitted he let him in.
We'll get to that in a minute. Go ahead.
And he soaked my couch with a water hose that was stored in his garage.
Just a second. How did he soak your couch with a water hose?
It was in his garage.
What was it doing in his garage?
I stored it there.
What was that part of your rental agreement?
No, I asked him, I had received another couch, and I asked him could I put it in his garage, and he said yes. He had the only key to the garage. He watched the people put it in the garage, locked the garage up. One particular night, it was a confrontation between my sister and I one night. He banged on the wall. He turned around, then he came at 1 o'clock in the morning, knocked on the door. My daughter's father was visiting, asked him, could he please come back at a reasonable hour? He got very indignant, said, no, I demand for her to come outside right now. Get your so-and-so hand off of my door, referring to my door. He told him, no, you would have to talk to her in the morning. The next day, he called me on the phone. He left a message, said I had to make other arrangements. If I did not come and speak to him, that I was going to have problems out of him, that I was going to have a problem. Then he gave me a 3-day notice when I didn't owe him any rent. And since then, it's been a nightmare.
Hold this on a second. You went on and gave me a whole long story. I asked you a question. How do you know he soaked your couch?
I seen him.
You saw him?
Yes.
Ms. Fair, tell me how you saw him damage your furniture.
Well, he asked one of the witnesses out there. He says, I want
Don't tell me what he asked the witness.
He went.
Tell me what you saw.
I seen him walk to the back of the house with a couple of his friends with the water hose. I walked around the other side, and he squirted it with the water hose.
Squirted what?
The couch, the whole living room set, and my table.
You saw that?
Yes, I did.
Really?
Yes, I did.
The reason I ask you, really, if that really happened, your eyes are fluttering.
Oh.
That's not a good sign, Miss Fair. The reason I ask you that is because usually people, when they prepare papers for court, put in the most important things, and nowhere in your papers that you prepared for me, stop looking through your documents when I'm talking to you, nowhere in your papers that you prepared did you say you observed him soaking your furniture. Nowhere.
Excuse me, I don't mean to interrupt, but I have a police report where I observed seeing him do this.
Yeah, let me see it.
I have a police report for the annoying phone calls asking me to get out.
Just a second. What was the date that you say you observed this?
6:30, June 30th.
And that was before or after this incident with your ex-husband?
This was after.
As a matter of fact, it was 2 weeks after, 2.5 weeks after.
Right. It was not my ex-husband, it's my daughter's father.
I see. When did you serve her with an eviction notice, sir?
I served her with a 3-day notice to ask her ex, who threatened me, to leave the premises. That was the 13th.
What date?
That was the 13th.
That's what I wanted to know.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, sir, you want to tell me about this furniture?
Your Honor, she moved in and she had furniture. I helped her move, and this furniture was not conditioned well. It was already destroyed. Something happened in her family where she got some other furniture. Someone was going somewhere for 2 or 3 years. I believe it was jail.
Whatever.
And I allowed her to move the furniture in my garage on a temporary basis. I told her I have gas equipment back there. You cannot keep it back there more than a month. She said, no problem, I'll get it stored. The gentleman that moved it in, he moved it in, I allowed him. But what I found very odd is that he left all the pillows on the outside. I came and told her the pillows were on the outside, but the sofa and the couch itself were on the inside. So the pillows were accumulating moisture and just daily. When this event occurred and she refused to leave, I told her, I said, hey, I got to get the garage clear. I got to get some stuff in there. I asked her to move it. The gentleman that had moved it in there, I asked him to move it. He said he would do it within an hour. I left the garage wide open for an hour. He didn't. I took her couches out with friends and put it right where her pillows are in my backyard. And they're there right now. I haven't touched them.
I want to tell you something. That sounds pretty disgusting that all that stuff is in your backyard. What kind of an apartment unit is this?
It's a 2-unit, man. It's just in the backyard. I have it's a pretty spacious backyard.
So the couch pillows sat outside in the backyard?
The whole time.
How long?
Maybe 2 months.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
You blew him off.
No, I did
Oh,
not.
sure you did. You blew him off, madam. You said to him, I'm cooking for the church. I can't talk to you now.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Stephanie Fair wants her former landlord to pay for wrongfully evicting her and ruining her possessions with a garden hose.
Now I'd like you to tell me, Miss Fair, I've already heard the story about the furniture.
I have pictures, ma'am, to show you and the receipt for
Just
the
a
couch.
second. You had I believe that the pillows for that couch were outside in the backyard all the time.
No, they were not, and
I
have
believe him.
witnesses.
I believe him. He does. Listen, he's under no obligation to store your furniture. He told you that he wanted to have it out. Hey, I'm speaking. Stop talking. He's under no obligation. He rented you an apartment. He did you a favor by letting you stay, letting you put your furniture in his garage. You were not paying for the garage space. You were not paying for storage. Clearly, in the beginning or the middle of the month of June, there was some sort of disagreement between the two of you, which I'm going to get to in a moment, having to do with your daughter's father. Clearly, that was a problem. It's a problem that I read about in the papers, and it's a problem that I heard just now. So then he said, get your stuff out of the garage. He can tell that to you in an hour, in a minute, in 5 minutes, in 10 minutes. He gratuitously let you use it.
But he didn't say it directly to me. He told the gentleman, he says, when is she going to get her couch out? He says, well, when I move her, which I was planning on moving, she will get it out. He stood there with his friends laughing, about 5 or 6 of his friends, went and took the couch out. Later on, he came back, and I went to the police.
I heard about the couch. I'm moving on to something else.
Okay, that's fine. Okay.
I see the letters that you sent him. The letters that you sent to him clearly suggest to me that you were looking for him to give you money. That's what they say. You talk about the California Rent Board, for him to tell you why you want him to move, and to discuss relocation fees. So clearly these letters of June 28th suggest to me that you wanted him to give you money to move. So what I would like you to do now is to tell me what was the nature of what you call harassment.
Okay, I have a phone harassment letter here from where he kept calling me, asking to move. We had been friends.
Just a second.
Okay.
Don't talk fast.
Okay.
Phone harassment.
Yes.
What kind of phone harassment?
Telling me that he was going to throw me and my daughter out if we didn't get out because he was upset. He was friends with my daughter's father up until my father threatened his male ego or something and told him, please, you can talk to her in the morning. 1 o'clock in the morning, it's not appropriate time to come to the house. I have documentation where he came to my house at 10:30 at night, 3 days before rent was due, asking for the money, telling me, well, if you don't have the money, then I can demand this from you. And if you don't have this, I'm going to throw you out and I'll be sure to get you out. He kept calling on the phone from 6 to 7 times from the 13th to the 17th, telling me he wanted me out. It was a nightmare for me to have to be harassed. The kids go to dump the trash. My child had to be harassed. My niece had to be harassed.
Just a second. Hold on a second. Hold on. He told you that he wanted you to move on the 13th. That's what you're... Just a second. Okay. Is that right?
Yes.
He told you he wanted you to move on the 13th. Now, I would like you to tell me, Mr. Gonzalez, March, April... She moved in March.
Yes.
March, April, May. Any problems?
She was always late, but I didn't care because
Always
of her
late with her rent.
She was always late, but her situation, because of her daughter, she was in a place where she witnessed a crime that scared her. I understand I have a child myself, but to say, I'm sorry.
In March and April and May, other than being late in her rent, was she a reasonable tenant?
Yes, she was.
What happened, and you had no problem with her?
No.
Other than the late rent?
Other than the late fee.
What happened, sir, in June?
In June, her daughter's father had came down before I met him. He seemed to be a pretty nice guy. On June the 12th was the altercation when her daughter's father and her, the child himself, got into a physical fight. Things started sounding breaking. My daughter is six years old. I didn't want her to see this. I went over, I calmed things down, I asked them to stop. It seemed to be okay, but my daughter goes to school too, Your Honor, and I have to take her 23 miles just to get to one school, so we have to get up quite early. At 2 in the morning, she was on the phone yelling. I mean, she was cursing.
Who's she?
Miss Fair. She was cursing so loud. It was through the... I just banged on the wall to say, please stop. I didn't even go over there. It didn't stop. After it continued for about 2 to 3 minutes, I went over there. I told my daughter to stay here. I asked, could I speak to Stephanie? She wouldn't even come to the door. The ex-husband or whoever, he told me if I rang the bell again, he would kick my, this and that. And I didn't want to become volatile. I rang the bell and asked, could I speak to Stephanie again? He came out and greeted me face to face. Not that I can't defend myself, Your Honor. I just chose not to. I left the porch. I called her, and I asked her, I said, I'm going to need to speak to you tomorrow. I didn't even tell her she had to go. All I did was wanted to speak to her about rectifying this situation, this nuisance. I have a right to live in my own property and feel safe myself. And I was doing her, I can't believe I'm here, Your Honor. I was doing her a favor. I didn't charge her first or last rent. I didn't charge her a deposit. I lowered the rent. I bent over backwards for her. And for her to do me like this, I'm appalled.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
He has an absolute right to the peaceful enjoyment of his property and to tell you to leave.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Stephanie Fair wants her former landlord to pay for wrongfully evicting her and ruining her possessions with a garden hose.
So when you called and said, I have to speak to you tomorrow.
Yes, ma'am.
What happened?
She laughed at me and hung the phone up. I tried to contact her. She would walk by. The units are so close that I would try to walk and say, can I talk to you for a minute? Nothing to say to you. She would put her, like this. The thing, like that. Nothing to say to you. And her children.
Well, let me ask you this question. Miss Fair, just a second.
Because when he told me that me and my daughter could stay on the premises, you're telling a lie, John, because he says, okay, I'm going to tell you this. You better get over here and talk to me right now. If not, you're going to have problems out of me. When he says, if you don't talk to me right now. So when I said, look, John, I'm cooking dinners for the church. I'm selling dinners for the church. I will talk to you when I get home. No, you better come over here immediately.
Miss Fair, you had no problem with him.
No.
Shh. If you had no problem with him, there's no basis for this lawsuit. So don't anticipate my question.
Okay.
You had no problem with him in March, April, and May. He didn't tell you to leave. He didn't serve you with an eviction notice. This problem started when your daughter's father came to and stayed with you for a couple of days. Is that correct?
The problem, no. Because I had gotten an argument with my sister. He had never had any problem. Him and my daughter's father were friends. They socialized, they sat and ate dinners and stuff together. Okay, now what I'm saying is
I'm saying is, tell me what happened that he did to you to harass you in March.
In March, he didn't do anything.
Good. Tell me what he did to harass you in April.
Coming over to my house all the time.
That's baloney. Tell me what happened in May.
Nothing happened in May, ma'am.
Right. What happened in June when your daughter's father came to visit and there was noise coming from the apartment. Then it all started, and when he tried to rectify the situation or try to talk to you, you blew him off.
No, I did
Oh,
not.
sure you did. You blew him off, madam. You said to him, I'm cooking for the church. I can't talk to you now. So he served you with a notice. Then you serve him with this thing. Where is it? Where's this thing? And you say, you want me to move? Pay me money. That's what you said. Not only pay me money, but these were all the things that you said you were going to fix in the apartment that have never gotten fixed, right?
Yes.
Kitchen countertop, bedroom sliding glass closet door, all these things that you say weren't being fixed. You were, at that point, after you were served with a notice, because he didn't want unruly people living next door to him in his house, then you started setting yourself up to get money from him. That's unreasonable.
I did not set myself up. He knew my situation. For him to harass the children, I have witnesses here that was here for him to let people into my home when I asked him not to let people into my home.
What people?
Before this
Just a
even
second.
occurred.
What people did he let into
He
your
let
home?
Benita Wade, the witness right here.
Well, this is somebody that you know?
Yes, it is.
Well, how do you know her?
She's my friend.
So what do you mean he let her into your house? Step up here. You?
Not Benita.
Who's Benita? Step up here. Did he let you into the house?
Yes.
Tell me how that happened.
I was there waiting for her to get home, and she
Right.
hadn't arrived yet.
Yes.
And he said, well, I'll let you in. So he
Good.
let me
Nice.
in.
Sit down. All right. So now I've heard the couch, I've heard the harassment, and I've heard relocation fees. Now, I'm about ready to hear your side, sir. On what date did she finally move out of the apartment?
She moved out on, it was July the 20th, Your Honor.
Okay, is that correct?
No, I moved out on the 19th, and I have a receipt.
Fine, you moved out on the 19th. Did you pay rent for the month of July?
No, I didn't.
Good, you owe him money. Now, you are also suing for destruction of property. What property, sir?
Yes, I am, Your Honor. In the initial agreement there, and I think you have it there, there were 5 things that I said I was going to fix. Only one thing I didn't fix, and that was the kitchen countertop. I let her move in early. She had voiced...
What did she destroy, sir? Stop giving me a whole story.
I'm sorry. There's the repair to the rear bedroom door. She had someone I guess she said something's wrong with the door. She had them nail it. The whole frame is broke. All of it's broke. And the kitchen floor is, her refrigerator leaks. And I can't replace the tile. The floor is warped. And I got the best estimate I could get. They were doing me a favor by doing this. I went out and did this for her to get. I'm not trying to get any money from her that she doesn't owe me.
Good.
I just want to be compensated.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to teach you a very good lesson, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Good lesson is landlord, if they're smart, they get a month's rent and a month's security. That's what the security is for. Security is for this kind of damage. Because I know if I'm going to ask her, she's going to say she didn't cause any of that damage. Is that right, Mrs. Fick?
I have pictures. Yes, ma'am.
Right.
I did not cause any damages
All right.
that
She's
wasn't
going to say
there
she didn't
before.
cause any damage. Listen to me, Mr. Gonzalez.
I have pictures of
I'm not interested in your pictures. She's going to say she didn't cause the damage. You say she did cause the damage. The only thing I know for sure is that she owes you for rent. She owes you $435. That's on your countersuit. Your lawsuit, on the other hand, Miss Fair, is, in my judgment, bogus. Totally and completely bogus. A, I find no basis for the harassment. He came home, saw this young lady who he clearly knew was part of your either friends or family circle, standing outside, and he said, I'll let her, well, you want to wait? Wait inside. Now you're complaining about that, the fact that he was being a nice guy. You had no trouble with him, and he had no trouble with you. March, April, and May. Only when your former boyfriend, the father of your daughter, was there, and there was an altercation, was there a problem. And since he couldn't get any satisfaction from you, he has an absolute right to the peaceful enjoyment of his property and to tell you to leave. He also has no obligation to take care of your stored property after he's told you to leave. And I do believe that the pillows that he said were outside on the lawn were outside in his backyard. The couch may have been inside, but the pillows were outside, tossed away like so much garbage. So I think that if there's any damage caused to your furniture, you did it. So your lawsuit is dismissed, and I'm entering a judgment for the defendant in the amount of $435. That's all.
Parties are excused. Next step out.
Let's go.
I'll be back to your right.
Thank you, Your Honor.
purposes of land.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
Did a lot of things to me that was not right, and he has to pay for that later on down the line.
I think what she's got, it's a blessing in disguise that she didn't get hammered for the rest of the damage. She should be very happy.
Courtroom, please. Judge, case number 421 on the calendar in the matter of Landolfi versus McMillan Barden. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Mr. Landolfi, I've been in this business for a very long time, and I've read a lot of complaints. I read your complaint. I read your revised complaint. I still, for the life of me, don't understand what you're suing for, except that I do understand that for a short time, you entered into a lease agreement with the defendants.
Correct.
And that was because you were going to have some medical treatment.
Yes, sir. Ma'am, excuse me.
Where do you live normally?
I was living in Vallejo at the time and attending the Martinez Outpatient Veterans Clinic. And because of the problem couldn't be resolved by their doctors, they suggested a specialist, not a veterans doctor, in Palm Springs, an internist. So I came down to see him.
And you needed a place to stay for a couple of
Correct.
months. You found an apartment in their facility, in their
First
complex.
30 days I stayed in a motel. It was too expensive. Then I found the Brentwood.
Now tell me about your lawsuit. Tell me why you think that they owe you $4,700 or $4,800.
First of all, the verbal agreement, of which I have a receipt for, so it's also in writing, was $600 a month from September 7th to October 7th to November 7th, 60 days. And I have a receipt dated that day, and I'll show you. I have a whole file of exhibits for you, Your Honor, if you wish to see them. Let me look at mine, though, so I can, or I can give you your copies right now if you wish to look at them.
You rented an apartment, according to you, for $600 a month from September 7th until October 7th.
Well,
Stop,
no,
don't rustle papers.
excuse me.
Don't rustle papers.
November 7th, Your Honor.
Well, you left before October, correct?
I left on the 29th of September to go to Vallejo, flew back to pick up my car, my clothes, and to make my final visit to Martinez Hospital.
How long did you live in their apartment?
From September 7th through the 29th.
Of September.
Yes, ma'am.
And how much rent did you pay altogether?
$1,200.
You paid $1,200.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you get any back?
I got $400 back.
When did you get the $400 back?
I told her in writing on September 27th, here is the balance of $500, which brings the apartment rental to November 7th, and they only take cash, no checks, no credit cards. And I put 3 items. Please ask the maid to clean up. She hasn't cleaned anything.
Did I ask you a question? I said, when did you get the $400 back?
I got the $400 back after that note, and I got the $400 back on 9/29.
So, you asked for a refund, and you got a partial refund.
Correct.
So you asked for how much, sir?
The rent from September 7th to October 7th is $600. They gave me $400 back. They still owed me $200 for the month of October. I paid October all in advance. I paid $700 for the month of October, Your Honor, and I have documentation to prove that.
Please. You said you paid him $1,200 altogether. You got $400 back, which means from your hand to their hand, ultimately was $800. Correct?
Correct.
All right. And you lived there for a month, and you said your rental agreement...
No, Your Honor, I did not live there for a month. I lived there from September 7th to September 29th when I went home to go to the hospital and get the rest of my clothes.
Okay. I am assuming, sir, for the purposes of argument, that's the month of September. So that's $600.
For 3 weeks.
Okay. Which means $200 owing. So you want to tell me why they owe you $5,000?
Okay. They still owed me $100 for my $700 October payment. They owe me $145.53 because when I came back from the emergency treatment at the hospital on October 2nd, I walk into my apartment and there's a gray-haired gentleman with a Pennsylvania license plate on a new Cadillac sitting on my sofa, and both of us say simultaneously, "Who are you?" I said, "This is my apartment. I just rented this apartment." I said, "You can't. I have a lease till October 7th. It's now the 2nd. So I go see Miss Barden. She said, "Well, you left." I said, "I didn't leave. Where's my clothes? Where's everything?" "What clothes?" I said, "Wait a minute. I flew back to Vallejo to pick up my car and go to the hospital. I didn't carry it. I had 3 left shoes in me because I still can't. I haven't worn shoes in on my right foot in six months now, 6.5 months. Where's my jacket? Where's my slacks? Where's my 3 pair of left shoes, my underwear, bathing suit, et cetera, et cetera? Nothing was there. I said, where's the rest of my money? She said, well, you didn't give me the key back. I said, I forgot the key. They were on top of the TV. And you stole a telephone. I said, what are you talking about? You're not getting your money. So I claim 7 days rent at $20.79 a day comes to $145.53. The total now, with the 100 she still didn't give me, was $245.53. Using her exhibit, and I think, Your Honor, I should look at this. It's her handwriting.
Just would you get to the thousands? So far I'm hearing hundreds, sir.
Okay.
Get to the thousands.
You have to forgive me, Your Honor. I got a touch of the flu. My brain is not as fast as it normally is. This lady claimed she was a nurse. The stress, harassment, this stuff, that stuff that she put me through continually came to my house after I filed the first small claims case, which I filed on November 18th, and she never accepted it. But she came speeding into my driveway with a car, nearly knocked the mobile home down that I was now renting, came at me, threw a punch. I'm proud to be a Marine lieutenant. I ducked, it hit my shoulder. She sped away at 30 miles an hour, and it's a 10-mile-an-hour park because a lot of seniors there walk around with walkers. So I call the police to file assault charges. I work with the DARE program with the police department, so I know all the cops. I tell them what's going on. They come back and they say, Don, she says you're throwing eggs and confetti and stuff all over her car. I said, don't be silly. Here's the small claims case. I just filed it 3-4 days ago. Stay away from her. She's crazy. If you want, get a restraining order. I said, forget it, Pete. I'll tell her to stay away from me. He said, we already told her don't cross the street. And that was the assault aspect. So I'm now charging $3,845, punitive due to the dire medical condition I was in, and she knew it because she saw me every day sitting at the pool, my feet raised, because the doctor said you got to get the blood going the other way. And she's a nurse, et cetera, which I'd love to know.
I didn't understand the complaint when you wrote it, and I still don't understand it.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
I told him, you are the best from Budapest. He says, what? He probably believed I say you're the best.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 66-year-old Don Landolfi claims he has a refund coming from landlord Rod McMillan, and he was assaulted by apartment manager Greta Barden.
What I don't understand is, you were in the apartment for, assuming for the purposes of argument, for the month of September,
3
at a
weeks,
rent,
Your Honor.
according to you, of $600 a month. You understood that you were not getting prorated rent for the 7 days. You were paying $600 for the month of September. You paid, according to you, $1,200, which would have brought you up from September, when you moved in, until November 1st.
7th.
Or November 7th. But something happened. I'll let them have their chance to explain to me what their version of the events was. Something happened, and when you came back from your trip, you found somebody else in the apartment. You had already, prior to that time, sir, asked for your money back, and you were already given $400 back before you took this plane ride home. Is that right?
Semi-right.
No, I'm always right. Before you took the plane ride home, they gave you back $400. That's what you just told me. Now, what did they give you the $400 back for?
Because I had paid the whole month of October 7th to November 7th in advance. $700 I had paid.
So, why did you ask them back for the rent?
Because they wouldn't fix the electric plug, the TV didn't work. It said, I told her I will get out on October 7th, 1 month rental, yet I paid you for 2 months. So I wanted my $700
okay,
back.
now I see. So, you left on September 29th, and you had already received back the $400.
For October.
For October, with the understanding that you were going to vacate the apartment by October 7th.
Correct.
Oh, now it's coming clear. I knew eventually we'd get to it. So when you came back on October 2nd, really just for the purposes of picking up your clothes or your things.
And living there for 5 more days.
And living there for 5 more days, you found somebody in there.
Correct, ma'am.
Okay. Now, when you left to go home on the 29th of September, who did you speak to and tell that you were going to be back on the 2nd of October?
The manager of the complex, Greta Barden.
Okay, Ms. Barden, you are the manager of this complex.
Yes, ma'am.
Now I'm getting to you. Did he tell you that he was coming back when he left on September 29th?
He told me he was leaving, and that was it. That he was tired with the place. He demanded the money. I told him I will keep, because since he did not paint, then he had to pay for the electric bill, which was $106 plus. And then I told him I will return the other $100 when he returned the apartment key. I saw him moved out and he did not give me the key. But then when I went to look, and it seemed like he was gone, I found this in the door that it said, my place until October 10th, stay out note. Then I called the police. I asked Mr. Robert Hernandez from the SWAT team in Palm Springs came over. I said, sir, this gentleman has moved out and left this note there. What do I do? So he knocked, and there was no response. Then I opened with the master key. He told me to stay out, not to walk in. He walked into the place, calling his name several times, loud, all around the place.
All right.
He came out and he told me I could go in then.
Okay. He was paid through October 7th.
Right.
And you moved somebody in there on October 1st.
I believe so.
Okay. So you owe him for a week.
Right. Excuse me, but the police told me since the place was vacant, because he checked with me the closet and everywhere, since the place was vacant, that apparently his clothes were gone.
I don't care what the police told you. You know, if they wanted to be lawyers, they would have gone to law school instead of police school. What I'm telling you is you owe him a week.
Right.
Because you charged the other man for a whole month.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So you
$1,000 a month.
Shh. So you owe him for a week.
Yes.
Clarification. Note here, signed by him, says, I'm leaving 7 days early, therefore my attorney as you, etc.
Let me see.
And our problem, he wanted to be reduced.
All right, just a second. Let me see this.
Well, here's our answer to that. Shh. This is the answer.
Exhibit 12, Your Honor. My exhibit.
Mr. Linforti, he said, I am leaving 7 days early.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, per my attorney, as you caused this situation, you owe me the $100 plus 7 days at $20.59, or $145.53. Total $245.33. Okay? Now, so
excuse me, there's one more sentence there, Your Honor.
Yeah.
Due to my medical condition, no stress aggravation is due to me. At noon today, please, they never gave me the money. That makes October 7th the official departure date for me. They never gave me the money.
Whatever. They can't keep
What do
this
you mean,
money
whatever?
anyway.
I paid for the month of September,
Just a
Your
minute.
Honor.
You can't rent a place twice.
I agree. Thank
So-
you. Thank you.
They owe you $245.33.
Excuse me, Your Honor,
Ma'am.
53 cents.
Excuse me.
You say 33 cents. One
I say
place
53, 145.53. Oh, okay, excuse me.
Your Honor.
Yeah, excuse me. Say I'm wrong.
I am 100% wrong.
Good.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
I says, when are you going to stop this? So stupid guy. And he came at me with this part of his arm. He pushed me in this part, and I went backwards.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Don Landolfi says his former landlord, Rod McMillan, and apartment manager, Greta Barton, owe him a refund on his place.
Listen to me. That's what you owe him. You can't rent a place twice. That's unfair. Now, let's get to this assault nonsense.
Let's get to my clothes first. That's $700 worth of clothes, Your Honor.
Just a minute. Was there anything in the apartment?
No, ma'am. The police is a witness. He walked in there first, and I walked the second time with him.
I'd like to see the
There
police
was nothing,
report.
and it was the telephone gone, and it was a coffee maker gone, were all the lights on, the air conditioner full blast. There were the two TV sets on, and And
so all the electrical equipment was on?
Was on, plus he took everything from the apartment, plus the telephone.
Let's get to the assault, please. Did you go to his house after you were served with a small claims summons?
I did not. I was not served ever with any small claims court, Your Honor.
But did you go to his house?
He kept putting eggs and vanilla ice cream and soap in my windshield. I called the police.
Just a minute. Did you see him do that?
I did not see him. I slept in my car several times trying to catch him. For some reason, he was not there the days. One time when I came and I found the egg in my car, since he was living across the street, I saw him drive away after he saw me get to my car.
So you thought it was him?
I believe it was him. There was no other reason for anyone else to be.
Okay.
Then,
so you thought it was him?
Yes.
So then what did you do?
Then since I had the egg, and I was sick and tired of 6, 7 times doing this, and the police, all they did was a frequent patrol. So then I thought, well, maybe I'll stop it because I was ignoring it. So I thought I'll go over, and I knocked at his window in his trailer park. I knew it was his car because it says Marine. So he came out, and I said, when are you going to stop this? So stupid guy. I said, I'm sick and tired. So he said, get out of here, get out of here. I'm going to sue you. And he came at me. How could I attack him when he's older than me and everything? And a Marine, I wasn't going to about. I was too scared of his size and his mental condition. So with this part of his arm, he pushed me in this part, and I went backwards until I was able to turn around and hold myself against the trailer, or I would have fallen to the ground. I made a big deal out of it because I was scared, so I wanted the neighbors to be aware that my presence, so he would not do anything drastic to me. He kept screaming at me. He said he was going to sue me and everything. So I went in my car. I drove to the manager of the place. I showed him my car, and I explained to him that this was done by Mr. Aldolfi, and if ever was done by anybody in the parking place, to please come and look for me, because I was a witness to what harassment he's been giving, sexual harassment and all kind of harassment, and I wanted them to be a witness. Or I would be happy to help him. So I went back to my apartment, and I called the police. They came, they talked to me, then he went over to him and told him to stay out of my place, not to even call me, because he was calling me several times. He was coming over my place, knocking at the door, demanding the money. I was one time at the lounge, and he came over me. I was not aware he walked into the place, and he called me a bitch and insulted me, and he walked away because I told him there was no money coming to him. I had to call the locksmith. I have to...
Okay. Okay. Does he still... What?
There was a locked gate to that property. You can't get in unless you have a key to the lock. So
it was
everything
unlocked
she told
during
you...
the day.
May I finish, please? I can't use the word perjury. That's your decision. This lady is lying to Your Honor.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
I find, after hearing this case, you own the property, sir?
I'm the president of the association.
And you're the manager?
Yes, ma'am.
That's a lie also. She's not the manager anymore.
I'm a temporary manager.
She was manager at that time.
Are you feeling better, sir?
A little bit. Thank you,
Good.
Your Honor.
I'm going to help you feel a little bit better, Mr. Landorfi. But not a lot better, sir. Not $5,000 better. They owe you $245.33. Period. And I suggest that if you still live next door to each other or across the way, you stay as far away from each other as is possible. This case is over.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
At one time, he told me that he would like to move into my apartment to save on the rent. At that time, I told him he can very nicely go and sleep at the bottom of the pool.
I came out, and she went like this. I'm taught the duck, hit me here, and then I pushed her. You act like a man, you're going to get treated like a man. But I didn't hit her. If I hit her, she wouldn't be here right now.
I told him, you are the best from Budapest. He said, what? He probably believed I said you are the best. But I repeated it more clearly, that you are the best from Budapest. In that moment, he jumped out of the pool and he says, that's it, I'm moving out of here.
Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Your last name isn't together.
No, Marsha Engel.
Engel?
Engel.
And you have a dating service?
I work for a dating service.
You own it?
No, I don't.
Do you have the power to appear here on behalf of the owner?
Yes, I do.
You were interested in meeting some ladies.
Yes. Together contacted me by telephone and left me a message on my answer machine.
How did they contact you?
In the past, I had filled out a thing that they have if you're interested in possibly joining a dating service. It was like a few years earlier, and I never did join Together. But evidently, they recalled after a couple years looking for new clients, I suppose.
Okay.
So they called, and they left me a message wondering if I'd be interested. And like I said, left a message on my answer machine. I called back, and I says, sure. I talked to some gentleman, which I don't know what his name was, and I set up an appointment. So I went down there probably within a few days or a week's time, and I met this woman named Gail. That's who they had me. She basically told me what the structure of Together was all about, how it worked. We sat down. I probably stayed there, I would imagine, if I remember, a couple hours. They really get personal into your business. They want to know who you are, what kind of money you make, do you really work. And also they have you fill out a form asking you what particulars are you looking for in a person, whether it be age, looks, background.
Do you have a copy of that form?
Yes, I do.
Can I see it, please?
Oh, I'm sorry. That actual form, I don't. I went up to the office and I asked if I could get that particular form that I filled out, and they told me I'd have to make an appointment for during the week.
Let me see a copy of the form you filled out, please. Anyway, how much did this cost you, sir?
$795.
That's what you paid them in total?
Yes.
Okay. It says he will date, age range, well, it says 30 to 40, and that's crossed out, but in parentheses it says 35. Height range, 5'3" to 6 feet? Is that what you said?
Yeah, I probably did. I don't remember that part.
Slender. You don't care whether they're single, divorced, or widowed, right?
Well, no.
Marital status. You don't care.
They can't be married.
Single, divorced, or widowed.
Yeah.
And with kids, maybe.
Right.
Prefer a non-smoker, social drinker, Caucasian, education is open, profession is open, Christian, Catholic. So far?
Right. It didn't matter, really,
Okay.
the religion so much as Christian.
And the rest of it, sort of the soft stuff. Honest, caring, hard worker, romantic, easygoing, down to earth, open-minded, sense of humor.
Right. They asked both of us.
I'd like all those things, too.
Right. Don't we now?
What?
We do, but, you know, that's just the basics of trying to match. You're not going to get all that, I realize.
Yeah,
that.
I know. Okay. And then it tells you, it's your wish list.
Well, it's something I paid for, basically.
Right. All right. Now, you're suing them for even more than the $795 because you said you had to take a lot of these ladies out on dates, I assume.
No, that's not true. I'm just suing for my court costs and me taking off work to file for court costs. I'm not asking for money back. And actually, I never really took the women out. We had, like, meetings. What it is you...
Okay. So the contract was $795. And now I'd like you to describe for me, sir, you did go out on some dates that they arranged for
Actually, it weren't really dates or meetings.
Meetings?
Yes.
All right.
It's a difference.
Meetings.
Okay.
Because you weren't going to spend anything unless you sort of like...
Well, that's how it works for both parties.
You go someplace,
right,
you meet,
exactly.
you look,
you
yes. take a look, and then you leave.
Exactly. You feel each other out to understand what you're coming from, who you like.
Okay. And where do these meetings usually take place?
The first one, the first lady that I met up in her hometown. I think it was up around Buffalo Grove, if I remember right.
Okay, and describe this lady to me.
I don't know what you mean by describe her.
Describe her physical
Oh,
appearance.
physical features. She was heavier than I wanted in a woman. And she had dark hair. And she was what I would, in my personal preference, not what I would even consider average looking. Because I asked for somebody in this, like I said, something I paid for. I asked for something, I didn't say attractive, I said better than average looking is what I stated on that thing.
Beauty is in the eyes of the world.
Exactly. And it's something
How old?
I'm sorry.
How old?
How old? If I remember right, she was, I think, 38 or 39.
So that's within the age range.
It was.
Okay, and she was available. She was either single, widowed, or divorced.
She was a nice person. We sat at a bar in this German tavern, and we had drinks, and we talked for a while, and she just wasn't my type at all.
That's what happens.
Yeah.
So I assume that after that date, you called back and said she wasn't my type.
Actually, they have a form that you fill out. It's until you can get another date, you have to fill out like a fact finder form.
Okay, so then you filled out a form. Do you have a copy of that form?
Yes, I do.
Can I see it, please? This was after the first date.
Yes.
Okay. Well, this says she was friendly and down to earth. No attraction on my part. I like ladies a little slimmer. To me, she was what I consider average looking. I'm afraid to ask.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Well, here's the woman that you went out with who was 43. He told me he knew it would never work and got up and left. How embarrassing. He was the most impolite person I've ever met, and I feel very sorry for anyone who meets him.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Tom Jeanette says Marcia Engel and Together Dating Service did not fulfill his dating needs, and he wants a refund. Marcia says the contract clearly states there are no refunds.
So tell me about the second date.
Okay, the second date, they call me, and it's a woman, which I didn't want to really meet anybody in her 40s at the time. Like I said, I had a preference on there. And I don't remember the woman's name, but I told her, I says, listen, you guys are not giving me what I want. And she said, oh, no, you won't be sorry. Oh, you got to go out with her. You really like her. So I said, okay, give me her phone number.
She was in her 40s.
Yeah, I don't
How old are you?
I'm 43. I just turned 43.
How old was she?
How old was she? I don't remember. She was in maybe 43 or 44 at the time. I really don't remember. But I know she was in her 40s.
Okay, so this lady that you went out with the second time was about your age.
Okay, yes.
Right?
Right.
What was wrong with her?
What was wrong with her? She just was a total mismatch. Not at all anything that I was looking for. And I felt...
Tell me why.
Tell you why? Basically, she was, to me, very unattractive. And when I sat with her and talked with her, I didn't find we had that much in common at all.
Can I see? And you filled out a form after that?
Yes, there should have been a form.
Can I see the form? Well, this sort of says it all. Don't you have anybody in your files that takes care of their bodies by exercising? Do you exercise?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so that's your second date. And what happened the third date?
The third date, she sounded okay on the phone. I said, I'll give her a chance. They said she's really nice, so. Anyway, I meet her, and we're talking, and she just wasn't my type. She's a very nice person. But what shocked me is what she told me was...
What do you mean? I'll get to that in a second. You say a very nice person. How old was she?
I'm going to say 39. I'm not sure.
Okay. Nice looking?
Like you said, beauty's in the eye of the beholder, and it wasn't what I was looking for. Okay?
Overweight?
Somewhat.
How much is somewhat?
I didn't gauge her. She wasn't what I was asking for. I was asking, like you read earlier, somebody slim and build, and all three women were not. Unfortunately, it's my preference. And
what did she do for a living?
Well, she was a cocktail waitress, I think she said, and I forgot what else she said, but that was one of her jobs.
Uh-huh. And so you were going to tell me what she said to you at this meeting.
Okay, at the meeting we were talking, basically, and she told me that she didn't even belong to Together anymore, that her membership had run out, but that Together was lacking women to supply to gentlemen within the group, so they would contact her every once in a while and send her out on a date. And she said, hey, why not? It's not costing me nothing. Now, I was kind of floored when she told me that, but she said, I didn't mind.
Right.
Yeah.
That sounds like she was honest.
Yeah.
Right? That's the first thing that you put down here. Honest. So you had 3 dates. Did you have any more dates?
No, they started calling with women in the 40 range again, and I said, no. And then I just refused, and that's when we got into this matter here of filing for a small claims lawsuit.
Okay, go. I'm hearing your side.
Okay. As far as we're concerned, we have serviced him with women that were in accordance with what he was requesting, and the fact that he was not, you know, there was no chemistry between them and that he wasn't physically attracted wasn't any part of our agreement.
Mm-hmm. This last person that you arranged for a meeting with, she had, at the time, an expired contract with you?
Okay, that I'm not aware of, and I couldn't answer that. We only have active members.
Well, she said she wasn't an active member.
Okay.
She told him that. Does your organization ever contact people that aren't active members?
No, we don't. No, we don't.
So this honest lady was lying. This honest lady was lying.
I don't know what he's representing that she said.
I believe him when he said that that's what she told him. You signed a contract, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
And you seem as if you are an intelligent person.
Right.
Right? I was sort of surprised after having heard you when you said she made me feel comfortable enough to sign a contract without thoroughly looking it over.
Right. Basically.
It was all part of a con game.
Okay.
What kind of work do you do?
Okay, I'm a service advisor for an automobile dealership.
What does that mean, a service advisor?
I'm the first person you make contact with when you bring in a vehicle for repairs. I write down what your complaints are, and then I relay the information to the mechanics, and I deal with insurance companies, and I may have to call a customer back on cost.
So that you're a pretty educated person?
Right.
Well, then if you sign a contract, you're supposed to read it.
I understand that, but when I was talking with Gail, I even asked her, when we got to the final point where we're going to sign the contract, I asked her, I said, I guess I should read this? But she said, just to save time, basically what it says in here is that you're not the basic axe murderer, and that we're not liable for anything you might do, and that you're a normal person kind of thing.
Let me ask you this question.
Yes,
somebody brings their car into your dealership, they sign a piece of paper, right?
Right.
It's a long agreement that they sign. They just come in, they drop their car off on their way to work. You have the clipboard here. Listen, I've been there a lot. They have a clipboard here, and they say, you drop your car off, could you sign here, please? Right?
Yes.
They sign over there. How many people that sign over there, sir, read what they're signing?
Right.
How many?
Probably not most of them.
Right. Now, if one of those people that came into your car repair service center said, I didn't read it. You know, I was in a rush. I was going to work.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
It's not a con game, sir. It's business. You didn't get a guarantee, sir, that you were going to meet Cinderella.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Tom Jeanetts wants Marcia Engel and Together Dating Service to refund his money. He says he didn't have one satisfying date.
And what I'm saying to you, sir, is I know you were disappointed, but you signed a contract, and your contract clearly says, can't read it without my glasses, it says the client agrees that upon receipt of the client's first referral, shall not be entitled to any refund. That's what it says.
It does say that, but what was the con game all about with Gail telling me that, yes, don't worry about it, we have all kinds of nice women for you to meet and things, women that you're looking for. You know,
it's not a con game, sir, it's business. They say they have a lot of nice women. You say 2 of the 3 women that you went out with were very nice people that you just had no chemistry with. Well, you sat and talked to them. They were nice. One of them was nice and honest. You know, they didn't look like Quasimodo. You know, they may have not been your exact type.
Right, but like I said, it's something I paid for, and they weren't supplying.
You weren't satisfied. You didn't get a guarantee, sir, that you were going to meet.
But they
that you were going to meet Cinderella.
I had this. It's not the Cinderella. It's not even a Cinderella factor. I have a form in there that says that they will try to get it better for you each time. We're gonna justify. We're gonna modify this for you. And it's not. There's no thought process to it.
I'm not sure whether there's no thought process. You have certain things that you want. That's what happens when you use a dating service.
Right.
You have comments on the women that he went out with?
I thought they were all very compatible. We matched by...
No. Comments from the women. Right? He filled out these forms.
We do.
He filled out these forms.
Yes,
so I'd like to see the forms that they filled out. I assume that you charge the women the same thing?
There's different memberships, so the pricing is based on the type of membership that they buy.
What do you mean different memberships? You pay one price, you get ugly people, you get good.
Based
one
on
price,
the
you get
number
better.
of referrals that you're purchasing.
Judge, that's
well, just a second. That's a lot of double talk. Where does it say that here? In this contract? That you're contracting $795 for 9 referrals. You have other contracts say you're contracting for different amounts for different numbers of referrals? Is that what you're saying?
Right.
So that's what it is. Was that explained to you, sir?
It's not working out. The second date that I had, she got very upset. During the meeting, she brought up the subject of how much did you pay for the date? And we both signed up, I think it was the same weekend. And she paid a couple $100 more than me, and she had a fit because she called Marcia. And Marcia called me, and also on that date, she called me up telling me that I have to give these women a chance and date them and get to know them.
Let me see their
That's my
comments.
money I have to spend on dates, not theirs.
You just told me you didn't spend any money on dates.
No, if I had to, they're telling me I should take them out.
Well, you didn't, sir. You didn't take
No, I
them out.
didn't, but I thought that was wrong. They should be telling me what I have to do. It's a service I paid for.
Have you always been single?
No.
How long were you married?
14 years.
Well, here's the woman that you went out with who was 43. Around your age. She said, when I met him at the restaurant, he did not even give me time to sit down. He told me he knew it would never work and got up and left. How embarrassing. He was the most impolite person I have ever met, and I feel very sorry for anyone who meets him. Did you just get up and leave?
No, I sat there with her for about 10 minutes or so talking, and I did tell her, I said, this is not going to work. I shook her hand, and I said, good luck to you. I hope you have good luck with the service.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I do not find that there was any fraud on the part of the defendants. Their contract clearly states that this is a non-refundable fee. You took advantage of their service on 3 occasions. It's certainly not what you had wanted, but the first one that you went out with, who you said was a nice person, who was in the age category that you had requested, you didn't find her particularly attractive, but that doesn't mean somebody else might not.
Exactly.
So they fulfilled their part of the contract according to this contract when they sent you out on 1 referral. They gave you another referral that you said was also not bad, probably in your age category, and you weren't crazy about her either. The only one that you got up and walked out on was this 43-year-old lady.
And I didn't just get up and walk out on her.
Okay.
We sat there for a while.
Sir, you're old enough so that when you sign a contract, you're supposed to read it and understand it. You're not supposed to let anybody flim-flam you by saying to you, you don't have to read the contract. You're in a contract-oriented business, so you should know better. If it didn't work out this way, try meeting and mingling.
Yeah,
That's all. This
I
case
find
is
it's worked
dismissed.
better.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I'll state and I'll go to my deathbed saying that it's something I paid for, something I requested to save me money and time, and it wasn't supplied, and they just kind of throw what they want at them. That's my opinion. That's what I found. These are nice ladies. I don't know them personally, but if you're just talking about attractiveness, yes, they're attractive ladies.
कितना माइनस हुआ भाई? बहुत
त्यही भयो
अरूलाई चाहिँ के भन्नु यार
भाई माइनस माइनस हुआ कि ये लड़की चला गया कि माइनस हुआ क्या?
लड़की चला गई
माइनस लग गया शायद, माइनस लग गया ना इसलिए ना।
हाँ
हाँ मैं तो जानता हूँ माइनस का डर लगता है सबको।
चलो फिर से एक मैच खेलती।
ओके किसी को बुलाओ बुलाओ यार, के उधर जो है बुला लो।
कोई नहीं ये रैंडम चलो।
ओके रैंडम खेलेंगे, ठीक है ठीक है, ये अच्छा आइडिया है।
तुम तो पहले बहुत टॉपअप मारती।
मैं हाँ हाँ पहले बहुत टॉप अप किया था मैंने बहुत।
हर इलाइट पास लिखती।
हाँ पहले तो सब कुछ लेता था।
मैं तो बहुत कॉमिट करता हूँ टॉपअप तो।
क्यों यार?
मेरा बायो देखती।
क्यों अब इतना कम क्यों करते हो टॉप अप? गेम अच्छा नहीं लगता क्या?
गेम
टॉप अप क्यों नहीं करते हो?
नहीं भाई गेम में इधर जहर खाने के लिए पैसा नहीं होता, गेम में पैसा कैसे लगाऊं?
हाँ ये तो सही बोला।
इधर मैं यूनिवर्सिटी में अभी स्टडी कर रहा हूँ ना।
वैसे आप स्टडी करते हो?
हाँ और इसीलिए यूनिवर्सिटी का अरे रूम का रेंट रेंट समझते हो ना रूम का।
हाँ 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 हाँ।
हाँ वो और क्लोथ चाहिए, फूड खाने के लिए खरीदना पड़ता है इधर शहर में।
ओ तो फिर पैसा भी लगता है।
हाँ इसीलिए ज्यादा खर्चा होता है, इसीलिए गेम में टॉपअप नहीं करता है मैं।
तो ठीक है, सही
मैं
किया।
हम्म
आपने तो सही किया है।
बांग्लादेश में अभी कितना बजती समय?
अब 1 AM बजता है।
इधर तो 12:30
तो
12:30।
30 मिनट का गैप है ना।
हाँ वही।
क्यों 30 मिनट क्यों गैप होता है?
पता नहीं, उधर उधर जल्दी रोटेट होता है ना इसीलिए उधर अब सुबह उधर पहले ही सुबह हो चुकी है। हमारा डिले।
हाँ 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 आपके उधर डिले है।
हाँ तो भाई 3 मिनट लेती।
इतना टाइम लगता है?
पीसी में हर रोज ऐसा ही होता है। ये तो हर दिन का नाटक है।
हम्म।
पीसी में मेरा हर दिन ऐसा ही होता है। 16 में स्टार्ट ही नहीं होती।
हर दिन ऐसा होता है?
हाँ 16 में स्टार्ट ही नहीं होता है।
ऐसा क्या?
हाँ तुम्हारा 16 में
नो स्टार्ट हुए ऐसे।